Yeah, did you send your email in, didn't you? To get added?
No, I didn't send an email to get added, because I want to do like a FCM or something that I'll share to the package. I just want
okay.
3 minutes to just say it was great.
Yeah. You could do that in your go around.
Well, I can do that there too. I just didn't know if you want.
No, you know what? It'd be ideal. Because when you get your stuff from FCM, you just want to bring it forward.
Yeah.
Or even email, if you got something on the end you want to bring forward.
Yeah.
Send it in as correspondence. Like Mary does with her municipal assessment agency stuff.
Yeah.
And then when it comes up, they speak to it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
But I just wanted to see where that fit. Because I was kind of thinking, I don't have like they'll write up something and we'll send it like the packages.
Yeah, okay, and then you can have more comments. Do this, you want to do the roll on it?
There's 3 minutes in there, and I want to talk about just actually bringing Torbay participating in it too.
Yeah, okay.
So if you'll give me a little window.
We can talk about that when he does recreation. What is it? Did you want to stop it and redo it? Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, sure. So, and do all these people want to speak? They all do? Okay. So, is this the Q&A or under presentations? Q&A, okay. All right. Paula can't say.
And about the fence.
Yep, I got it here.
Okay. And then Adrian. He's got the other issue.
Isn't his stuff all approved now?
I saw it was.
His permits?
He's here to speak.
Oh, he can speak.
Yeah.
Yep. Is the page cover gone down? All right. Just wait for Don to get her seat. Oh yeah. All right. No worries. Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'll call our regular public council meeting for Monday, June 13th, 2022 to order. Let's see. New business. Councilor Tepper.
Pass.
Councilor Manning.
I'll do a thank you.
Councilor Pollard.
Pass.
Councilor Appleby.
Thank you, and participation, please.
Councilor Goss.
Congratulations.
All right. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
And I got it, thanks. All right, so we do, I already have names here for people that want to participate in the Q&A. I just want to check, see if you're here. Lonnie White, Adrian O'Brien, and Kayla Carroll, and then there's 2 little quotes underneath, so there must be 3. Okay, all right. So we have them added. Could I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, carried. Thank you. We have a set of minutes there for May 30th, 2022. Could I get a motion to adopt those, please? So moved. Moved. Seconded?
Second.
Seconded. Any errors or omissions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, everybody take a look at your sheet here for the conflict of interest part, see if any of that stuff there applies to you. Okay. All right. Moving on. Proclamations, presentations, Q&A. We have our first proclamation is for Pride Month, and Councillor Epi, I laid that on your desk for you.
Thank you. I will happily read that one.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. It is my great pleasure to read this one today. Town of Torbay, June is Pride Month. Whereas the Rainbow Pride flag is raised in celebration of Pride Month and to honor 2 LGBTQIA+ community members of the town of Torbay. The colors of the flag represent the diversity of the LGBTQ2S+ community. The color red signifies life, orange is healing, yes, yellow is sunlight, green represents nature, blue for art, indigo symbolizes harmony, and purple represents spirit. And whereas June is Pride Month, to recognize and commemorate the Stonewall Uprising in June 1969 in New York City, which sparked the social movement for human rights of lesbian and gay people. And whereas during Pride Month, the world's 2 LGBTQIA+ communities come together to celebrate sexual diversity, freedom, and acceptance. And whereas Pride Month is a movement to protest discrimination, prejudice, and violence, to promote dignity, equal rights, and self-affirmation, to increase awareness of the issues faced by the 2 LGBTQIA+ people. And whereas Pride Month raises awareness and understanding of the 2 LGBTQIA+ community while promoting equity, inclusivity, and a greater acceptance of diversity. And whereas the town of Torbay is honoring Pride Month to support, recognize, and celebrate contributions and diversity of the 2 LGBTQIA+ people to our communities.
Therefore, I, Craig Scott, Mayor of the town of Torbay, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2022 to be Pride Month in the town of Torbay, and encourage residents to commit to continuing awareness, inclusion, and acceptance for all members of our community, regardless of gender identity, race, age, and beliefs. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comment?
I'm going to.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. This is something we do every year, and it's close to my heart. Some of my best friends, some of my family members, they identify in different ways. They're gay, they're proud. I love spending time with them. And I love that we have, in my lifetime, come so far with the acceptance of people just for being people. And it doesn't matter who you are, how you identify, you always bring something to the table. And you have the right, just by existing, to take up space. So to all of my friends and family, to anyone who's not sure about coming out and sharing who they truly are, know that I'm a safe space, Torbay is a safe town, and we welcome everybody in our community, and there's room for everybody at this table and all tables in our community. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
I too echo the sentiment of Councillor Appleby. It's a world in which that we need to seek kindness and acceptance more than anything, and especially with today's world we live in. And I do agree that this needs to be a safe place for everyone.
Thank you. I think I would just echo your sentiments. I'm not going to go into saying everything. I agree with everything that you guys said. I think that it's important for us as a town that when people come here, they realize that what our values are and what our mission statement is as a town, and everybody is welcome here. And, you know, we have to also practice what we preach and make sure that we're an example for other municipalities to be able to do this. So, yep, that's it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And I have another proclamation here for National Indigenous Peoples' Day. And Councillor Pepper has that one.
Okay, Indigenous Day is June 21st, 2022. Whereas the Constitution of Canada recognizes the existing rights of the Indigenous peoples of Canada, and whereas in the Constitution of Canada, Indigenous peoples of Canada includes the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people of Canada, and whereas Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has declared June 21st as a National Indigenous Peoples' Day in honor, recognition, and celebration of the valuable contributions made by the Indigenous peoples of Canada to Canadian society. And whereas many Indigenous peoples celebrate the summer solstice, which has important symbolism to their cultures. And whereas First Light of St. John's Friendship Centre, the largest Indigenous non-for-profit organization in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador since 1983, in keeping with their mission to serve the Indigenous and broader community through celebration and support of Indigenous cultures and the provision of appropriate programs and services delivered in an atmosphere of trust, respect, and friendship, has established itself as a leading organization in the areas of culture, health, employment, housing, corrections, recreation, family service, and social enterprise. And whereas First Light will be celebrating National Indigenous Peoples' Day with numerous community events.
Now therefore, I, Mayor Craig Scott, do hereby proclaim June 21st, 2022 as National Indigenous People Day in the town of Torbay, and urge my fellow citizens to recognize the contributions Indigenous peoples have made to Torbay, Newfoundland and Labrador, Canada. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comment?
I will again.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. This one's another one that's close to my heart. When we had symposium in Gander in May, Chief Joe spoke to us, and I was in tears listening to telling his story. And his story happened within our lifetime, my lifetime. And I was only a child in the early 80s when they had the hunger strike to fight for their rights as a people to have access to their own money, to build their own community. And they've done amazing work over the last number of years to show that, you know what, we can do this stuff in our community, we can build our own communities, we can do everything anyone else can do. And he had a fireside chat with us at work actually one day this week as well. And you know, it's so important for us to recognize, call out, name the racism that has happened here in our own province, on our own lands. And I think it's important that we recognize all people here. And I know when I get my chance, I don't miss it to recognize our ancestral lands. Those are the Mi'kmaq, those are the Beothuk, those are the Innu, those of the Nunatsiavut, and all of the original people who are from here, and the Nunatsiavut, and making sure that we recognize them as people who live here. The last thing I want to say about it is that he talked about when he grew up, how he was told the Mi'kmaq were brought here to take out the Beothuk. And that was what he knew. He was taught about a colonized place, and that the Indians, you know, were brought in for that. And they were the ancestral people who were here. So I think it's really important that we have the conversation about educating our youth, making sure they understand about what has happened in our own province and what we need to do to make sure that we are genuinely working towards truth and reconciliation in this province and across our country. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I just I'll echo your sentiment. I was there at that too, and I have, through the course of going to various events, had an opportunity to hear the stories of our ancestral people in our towns. And when we did when we opened our Atlantic Mayors Congress here at the at our history house, we did do a land acknowledgement at that time. It was something that we need to think about. A lot of communities are doing it. You know, it's, I think that we've come a long way. We have a long way to go. I didn't even know that my grandmother had Indigenous roots until after she was dead. People didn't talk about that back in them days. So it was, you'd be frowned upon. So, you know, I understand where people are coming from. And I know that our Director of Community Services has lots of ideas around these things. And, you know, hopefully as a town, we'll start to do more to recognize our Indigenous community that lives here within Torbay and in our region. So, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Presentations, Q&A. So, let us start at the top of my list. Lonnie White. Come forward, sir.
You want me to put my mask on?
Nah, you can come up to the microphone there and should be good.
Well, first of all, I am an Indigenous person. I have my card. My grandfather's grandfather. So anyway, that's it. I have here a bunch of signatures from our community or neighbors. You want everybody to have one, or?
How many copies you got there?
I have 1, 2,
CAO will grab them for you.
3, 4, 5. Sorry, I didn't know. I counted them last meeting, and I think we have a few new people. Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't met.
As long as we got one, that's good enough.
I have them circulated to all council.
All right.
I
Thank
have
you.
an electronic copy, so you can skip me. I have them.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you want me to read this out, or did you want to?
If you feel free, Mayor, if you want to, or
Yeah, okay, so, this is really.
it's just going back to what we've been talking about since
Right.
we started this whole.
Yeah, since last week. So this,
Yes.
I'll just briefly give a summary. So this is related to dump trucks, cars, recreational vehicles, or hazard pedestrians, and children in particular, by speeding on Forest River Road. The absence of law enforcement makes the issue worse. Current speed control measures along the street should be reviewed and improved upon. The latest repair of speed bumps have gaps in them to allow many vehicles to straddle the bumps and avoid slowing down. As residents for Forest River request that Town of Torbay fulfill their responsibility to enforce the posted speed limits in our community and our street to prevent serious accidents in our neighborhood. So basically, and then you got names here from people along your street.
Yeah, some of them I couldn't get because they were on vacation.
That's
And,
okay. And to be perfectly honest, if you got one name here or 100 names, it doesn't make any difference to us. If there's an issue there that we can try and deal with, we'll try and deal with it. I will share with you the reason that the speed humps have a gap in the middle is for emergency vehicles to be able to pass without slowing down. So when we reviewed this before, it takes roughly 20 seconds for a fire truck to pass over a speed bump if there's no gap in the middle. So when you add up the cumulative number of speed bumps in the town, so when the fire truck leaves the fire hall, say it has to go to Ready Drive, if it has to pass over 10 speed bumps, that's an extra 200 seconds added to potentially to the call. So that's the reason the gaps are in the middle. It's for emergency vehicles like ambulances and fire trucks to be able to pass.
I understand that too, but
Yeah.
it's not solving the problem. It's like today, this, you got a lot of construction going on up there now. This tandem came down Forest River Road. I never had time enough to haul my camera out, but we got a sign there that tells you how fast you're going. And he was doing about close to 70 miles an hour. So on his way back, I stopped him. And I said, you know, where's the fire to? Right? And he just looked at me and said, F off. So, you know, that's what we're up against
Right.
in our neighborhood, right? You can only tell a person so much, and that's, you know, we're up to here with it now. So, you know, it's coming now that the kids are coming out of school, and if I got to bar my grandchildren, I'll be barring off the road. I will. I'll park my truck on the road because we can't. I was thinking about making up nets and goalposts and putting across my driveway. We painted lines on our driveway trying to, but you only can tell a kid so much, right? And I don't know. I'll leave it up to you guys, you know, like that's what I'm here for.
Right.
And my neighbors to see what we can do. We got to do something because it's not working.
Right, and in terms of, I mean, and we've talked about this before, right? In terms of enforcement, only the RNC can enforce.
Oh, I've been calling the cops. Don't you worry about that. They came up 2 or 3 times. They're on Captain Matthew Drive.
Yeah.
The young ones there, they're on these dirt bikes. And they don't got no consideration for nothing and nobody. And they're popping wheelies and they're going to full. It's too much of a road. It's like a quarter mile to them, right? And I was talking to Mr. Tapper, and he felt the same way. There's guys up there now with cars. They're building these bullet. It's called bullet mufflers.
Oh, yeah.
I'll let you come up to my house and come and sit down and watch my china cabinet going off the wall, right?
Oh, yeah, I experienced the same thing on my road and where my parents live on Invoices line, and I'm sure that, I know Ralph up by Galascove where he lives is very similar issues with loud mufflers. We attended a meeting it's a while ago now since I've been there with the people that are NL.
Pipe down.
Help me, pipe down NL, and this is all what it's related to, and I know that the minister said they're making changes to the Highway Traffic Act to be able to.
Well,
do
they're
more
trying to,
enforcement on
because
that.
before that they could process or prosecute, they would have to have some means of showing that the vehicle of soundproofing, right? But now, they're saying now that if it's not original factory, they can ticket them. That's what the officer told me, right?
Yeah, so we got your, I guess it's a petition, your letter here anyway, and the signatures of the people on it. So we'll,
Well,
Okay.
just think that it's not because of me. I don't care because I can go grab somebody by the throat or something like that, and you know, I'm just saying
I wouldn't
as
advocate that.
an example, but I'm thinking about the kids.
I understand.
Kids are coming out of school now, so if the fire truck gotta go over bump, gotta go over bump. That's it. Every other community, Logie Bay,
Like they have the same style in with us.
no, they got all full cross. Every one that I checked from what's this place? Logie Bay, Portugal Cove, down that way, that way, all got straight across the road.
All right, so we'll take this.
It'd be something for whoever does this, to go look. Because I'm telling you right now, those bumps you got on Forest River Road ain't working. It's not slowing the traffic down.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Well, that's my spiel, so
So we'll.
I'll leave it in your hands, Mayor. It's,
We'll put this to our Public Works Committee who deals with speed calming and let them have a look at it and see about it. But I can assure you that design of speed humps with the gaps in the middle is best practice, so.
Plug in.
well, you can even go in parking lots now and see that they're straight across, right?
I know,
They're-
but, I know. I don't wanna argue with you about it.
Oh, no. But I'm just saying that they ain't working. You put speed bumps to slow traffic down, not to speed it up.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Oh, where's my list? Mr. O'Brien?
How you doing?
I'm doing good, you?
Good. No, I just went through 5 months to get a building permit in Torbay. I called a couple of councillors on Friday, and I had it today, right? But this guy in charge here was telling me to go back and get this done and that done. I called here to council. They told me I need to be back 8 meters. I put it back 8 meters. I didn't care if I went back 50 meters. I put it back 8 meters, and then I had to get surveyor in again to move it back to 12 meters, right? And then I asked him, could I move it back 19 meters and put the water and sewer in the front and or the septic tank in the front? He said, no, you're not allowed to go back that far. So anyway, we can go back 18 meters, but we can't go back 19 meters. 19 meters the guy needed for the septic tank. Well, we got our permit today finally, but I just think this guy shouldn't be giving us such a run around. And the last thing, Friday evening, he didn't have the papers to do it. The surveyors give us 3 papers with the new drawings, but he didn't have, he had the elevations. He wrote them out and stamped it and stamped the other one. The one with the picture of the elevation then was a stamp, so we had to go to him again and get a signature off of him, the surveyor again Friday evening, right? Which I think is being a bit nitpicky over, stalling out. Now this morning when I come in to pick up the thing, they want to know how high the house is going. You're only allowed to go so many feet on the house. Well, I had a picture of a bungalow there. I don't think that was over height, right? But I had to mark down and tell them how high the house is, right? So I thought that's one part, right? There last year I was burning wood on my, cutting wood on my, last spring I got a call out at my summer place saying you're not allowed to cut wood on your property, right? Now, we've been cutting wood in that there for hundreds of years in on that property. We owned the property here for 200 years, right? We've been cutting wood and now we're not allowed to cut it. Last fall I was in there burning boughs in November and I was told I wasn't allowed to burn boughs. Because making too much smoke. Now the neighbours across the road were helping put the wood on the fire. They never complained, and they're over to burn boughs across their yard, and I'm not complaining about them. So I don't know, where these rules are come from. Everybody here in Torbay pretty well got a fire in the yard at times, right? And the fire lasted 3 or 4 hours, burnt out, right? And the third thing, I'm the guy I got the only fella in Bullistown with culverts. I had to put culverts in front of the house last year. I had to put culverts inside this house there. Where I put down the culverts, the drain was so deep that the councillors had to come up and re-dig it down again to let the water go down the road a bit, right? But the water's going nowhere, it just goes down the road a couple 100 feet and stops still on my land, right? The drain should have came to the church if we're going to dig a drain, right? But why I had to put the culverts in, I don't know, when nobody else got them in, right? It was an expense to me, and they're useless, and there's no water in the drains, they're not going nowhere. If you make a hole, you're going to catch water, but there were no drains here before, there shouldn't be any drains there now, but that's another issue. So I don't know, what we can do about that. I like to be able to cut wood on my own property. I like to be able to do what I like inside of my own boundaries.
Okay, so you did send us an email, right, yesterday about?
To one of the councillors, yeah.
Today, yeah, okay,
And send it
listing
on.
all these things out.
Yeah.
So we'll make sure that we take that and all those things that you referenced there get reviewed.
Now, I know you don't have much to do about the prices of your houses, but I got one house here in Torbay, I got priced at $270, and the real estate can't get me $220 for it, so it's obviously it's overpriced. And I got that new house that I built up last year is priced at $550, and everybody, the real estate is telling me, but $450, I'd be lovely if I could get $450 for it, I'll sell it tomorrow morning. But I mean, I don't know who's doing your prices for you, but they're way higher than what they should be, right?
Yeah, all the house evaluations are done by Municipal Assessment Agency, so they're a Crown Corporation, I think, and so any municipality uses. Yeah,
well, say if my house is worth $550 and I can only sell it for $450, who's going to give me the other $100,000? A day or you?
The one bit of advice I can give you to do with that is
Go back to them.
no, well, yes, but
You
you
appeal.
can don't ask for a appeal right away because they charge you money to do that. What you can do is ask them for a file review and ask them to send you all the information they use to do
Yeah,
your.
I don't know, one time the value of your property was a lot less
Yeah.
than what you could sell it for. But now it's a lot more, so it's costing us a lot of tax. Like, I'm paying $3,000 or so,
Right.
for a couple of bags of garbage a week, no other service, right? And I rocked up my culverts in the drain. The snowplow knocked it down when we had the big snow there one winter. Then I done it again. The next winter got knocked down again. So now I've done it the third time. But I never got my damage deposit back yet because the guy in charge here, Doug Paul, he said that we got to fix the culvert. So I had to fix them 3 times on my own. They're fixed there now. They probably won't move. But then the other thing about, we got a piece of family land that we're only letting family members build on as they want to build on, right? I was told that by, if anybody else takes a lot, I got to be called a subdivision by this guy Jason here, right? He said that should be a subdivision. Now, when you build on the main road, how is it a subdivision? We're not making any roads or anything else. We're building on the main road. The road has been there hundreds of years, right? And we're building, and so he told me any more lots there got to be called a subdivision.
Okay.
So I don't know.
That was part of your email too, right?
It might have been.
It was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's all included.
yeah, so we'll make sure that the planning committee reviews that and get back to you with answers on
Yeah.
those.
So am I allowed to cut my next winter's wood up my property or not?
I can't tell you that.
No.
No.
Well, who can?
Well-
we gotta ask Doug?
What I'm saying is that these issues that you raised, the committee can take it, look at it, and staff will look at it and get back to you with the answers on it.
Okay. No answers right now.
Well, I mean, I try and I can give you an answer on certain things here at the meeting, but when it gets into the regulations and all that kind of stuff, I have to defer to staff to.
Yeah. Now that I got culverts put in my drain, are you gonna make everybody in Convent Lane and Bullistown put culverts in their drain or just me?
Oh, again, I don't know. We had to.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I just wondered the reason behind it. I don't mind any rules that you got if we're all following them, right? I don't mind being back 8 meters or 12 meters or whatever. But when they told me back 8 meters, last year when I put the house back, they told me I had to come a head farther. I thought it'd be better to keep it back. They told me I had to go head farther. I put the septic tank in the front. I wasn't allowed, so I had to go to the backyard. The guy from the government came down and said, I got a good mind not to pass it because it's supposed to be in the front. And it should be in the front because someday it's going to be water and sewer there, right? So I don't know why we're getting these rules. Now I got to put another one in the backyard again. And when they come up with water and sewer 50 years time, I got to figure out, they dig up my floor in the basement to try to get it out to the front, right? You know, so I don't know why you're putting up these rules. If you had let me go back 19 meters, but he said he had lots of room to put it in the front, right? So
Okay.
anyway, it's not too late to change that. If you can change it tonight, you can call me tomorrow morning. We move it back 19 meters and put the septic tank in the front. But according to this guy, Doug Paul, we got to go in the back, right?
Okay. All right.
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thanks. Kayla. Or Joanne. I only got Kayla's name here. You must
She
be
did the
one-
calling, yeah.
Yeah, I put in a request.
Okay.
On behalf.
No worries.
Yeah.
Joanne Hayes with the Torbay Community Garden.
Yep.
We're here tonight now to complain about the fact that they're going to, Public Works had advised that they're going to tear down the full fence over to the community garden. And we've had a contractor over to have a look at it. 3 sides of them are okay. 1 side is definitely fell down, came in. We understand that that needs to be removed and hopefully replaced in the next year or coming years. But we're totally against having the complete, it's a waste of money to have the whole 3 sides tore down when we really need it. We got construction here out there, there's dust and sand. They even got a sign there saying, do not enter. Sure, we got the community garden, we got to enter it. So they're going to have to move the sign and let people get into the community garden if they're worried about safety issues. But the main thing is with us is the fence. We're wondering why you want to tear the whole fence down when there's no need of it.
Okay.
And they're supposed to be taking it down the 14th and 15th, so we want to try to get this solved, nipped in the bud before we come down now on Wednesday night and the fence is down.
Okay. All right.
Or the
so-
fence is up, I should say. We don't want it down.
Before it gets torn down. So.
I sent an email to everybody this
I know,
afternoon.
we got your email.
Yep.
I got it here with all, basically, your rationale there.
Yeah.
So we'll forward that on to staff, Don, to have a look at and see what we can do.
Yeah, now somebody from the staff had a look at it and they said that it wasn't fit, they were gonna burn it down and everything. I said, that's not even logic. We had a carpenter come in and look at it.
Yeah.
He said there's nothing wrong with the fence. The 3 portions that are still standing, I should say. The portion that is down, of course, we know that needs to be removed, right?
All right. Okay, so we can take that and review.
I'll follow up with the Director of Infrastructure and Public Works tomorrow, and then I'll follow up with Joanne.
Okay, perfect, yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So this is for Q&A too?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, you're
Yeah.
welcome. See ya. It's a beautiful night to be out in the garden.
What?
It's a beautiful evening to be out in the garden.
Yes, it is,
We should stop down now once we get everything planted.
We got 5 spots this year for the food bank. So we're hoping to donate, staples, carrot, turnip, cabbage, tomatoes, to the food bank in Torbay.
Excellent.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you later.
All right. Okay. Will do. All right, so, this is the only one left for the first one? All right, so I have another edition here for the first Q&A, and it's a letter that we received in our emails today from YBC Development, and I'll just quickly read it out. It's the subject is North Pond Road land development. In reference to the North Pond Road land development, we would like to request an update on the permit application submitted by YBC Development. This land was approved for development back in 2010 when the property was originally purchased. Since then, the development of this property has been on hold awaiting water study for the town of Torbay. On April 22nd, 2021, once again, YBC submitted the same application that was previously approved in 2010 for North Pond Road land development as per the town's request. We understand the application is being reviewed by the town. There's been no update from the town on the status of this application. It has been communicated in previous conversation there will be no new development approvals until YBC's application was reviewed. Although presently council has a motion to approve a new development application for a 6-unit apartment building at 1545 Torbay Road at today's council meeting. We'd like to request a clarification how this application can be approved while YBC's North Pond Road land development application is continuously deferred. Again, may I request be made for an update on the development application, and there's some contact information there and it's from Joan Cody. So I guess to the crux of this, the planning department can give an update on the application. And to the question here about a motion presently before council, there is no motion in the council package tonight for 1545 Torbay Road, so that's basically all I can say about that. There's no motion there, so we don't have to, there's nothing there getting approved as of yet. So,
There was one there last week, I guess, and it was deferred. That's probably what
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
in reference to, in all fairness.
all right. That's that. Mayor's report. I'll be brief as I can. So on Tuesday, the 7th, we had a meeting with Minister Howell to talk about regional government. I'll give a quick overview of that now in a second. On Friday the 10th, myself and Deputy Mayor attended a appreciation dinner for Hudson and Rex TV show. It was really, really great. It was fun, and it was nice for us as a town and our neighboring municipalities who are filming locations for that show to get that recognition. I think that it's nice, and I was talking to some of the cast members there the other night. It says it makes me feel good when I turn the show on and I look and I see different areas of our town that are being showcased through their show. And they were going through some stats there about how they're the #1 show in particular markets, and it was really nice. I know that we had a good time. We had some pictures taken with some of the cast. I know that
Really
the mayor
nice.
was very excited to see the dog, Diesel. So that was nice, and I appreciated that invite. And on Saturday, I took a run out to Bay Roberts. I was invited out there for the opening of the inaugural Newfoundland Labrador Tulip Festival, and I was very appreciative that they invited me. I know that Deanne Lawrence, our Economic Development Officer, was out there too. I was surprised to see her. And it was very nice, what they have done with their garden. I had some pictures I shared on social media of what they're doing. And it was great for them to recognize the partnership that we have with them in garden tourism and tulips in particular. We got 2,500 tulips in our town this year. I told them next year we're gonna have 25,000. They said we're gonna have 40, so, you know, it's nice to have that relationship there. I know that this is how these things get created. I had a really good relationship with former Mayor Wood out there, and they contacted me last year about the tulips. It must be almost 2 years ago now, and asked to see if our town would be interested in doing it. I put them on to Deanne, and she's been working with the staff in Bay Roberts, and it's a really good news story. And I know that since that initial one, I think CBS, Paradise, Carboneer, there's 5 altogether, are on board with that now. So we're going to be able to create, hopefully, a garden tourism type thing where we promote their gardens, they promote ours, and that type, you know, to help grow. Any opportunity to bring someone into your town is a good one. Okay. So last Tuesday we had a meeting with Minister Howell. I jotted down some notes, and I just want to share. I'll when I get an opportunity, I'll type them up and send them out so you can read them. Everybody knows what my note taking is like. So, thank you to MHA Wall and Brazil for organizing or setting up that meeting. It was at the request of our 6 towns from our last regional mayors meeting. So the main topic of discussion was about regional government. We had some questions about our region, how it was going to affect us, where the government was planning on going with that. That was questions that we had raised when we were sat around here, and that we wanted to see if we could have a meeting with the minister to express those questions and any concerns that we might have had. So the minister gave an overview of regional governance as it stands right now. It's still the working group's report recommendations. No decisions have been made yet by cabinet as to how we move forward. There was we were interested specifically on how it's going to affect our 6 towns in particular on the Northeast Avalon. So what it appears is that the next step for us in terms of regional governance is going to be the Northeast Avalon Regional Plan. And Ralph is very familiar with that. He worked on that for
Too long.
and then it kind of got shelved a little bit the last number of years. But it seems that plan, their intent is to bring that forward again. Soon they're going to send information out to the towns in this area about, well, particularly for some of the newer members of council, what exactly is the Northeast Avalon Regional Plan? Where are we? And how we're going to go forward with that? Because there seems to be that the Northeast Avalon Regional Plan is going to be our regional government, our regional governance piece. It's just going to be basically no particular entity, just the plan, and it's going to encompass everything. Because I asked questions about, okay, what about water? Is water going to be involved in the plan? Regional water system and regional transportation and the regional, all those things. And that is the plan for that to be brought forward. Still, no decisions have been made by cabinet yet. So these are just proposals that we're talking about. But the Northeast Avalon Regional Plan is an actual thing that the government has put a lot of money into over the years, and something that they want to get updated, particularly considering we're still dealing with the St. John's regional plan that was created in 72. So we're still using that, they want to update that plan. It'll give us an idea of where we fit within the region. I asked questions in particular related to provincial roads within our towns. What are the plans with that? And, you know, I said the word downloading. We're concerned about downloading of services and roads to the towns in this area of provincial roads. And everybody knows which roads are in our town that are provincial ones. Unfortunately, they're ones full of potholes. So it's easy to recognize them. But there's a big price tag associated with that if ever it gets downloaded onto us. So that was one concern that I raised, and in fairness to the minister, she's the Minister of Municipal Affairs, not the Minister of Transportation, so she didn't really have a whole lot to say on that, but she did write it down as information to bring back, because it is a big deal when you're talking about regional government, regional, everything regional. So what else did we talk about? In terms of the NAIR plan, which is the Northeast Avalon Regional Plan, I had some concerns because there's been many, many hours and meetings and dollars spent on the Northeast Avalon Regional Plan to get it where it is now. It looked like at one point, Ralph, you would notice, it was on the cusp of passing and getting done. And then some of the larger partners, I think, if I'm right, didn't agree with how things were proceeding. And I think they actually did have an issue with the consultant that was running it. A lot of the municipalities felt that the plan that they were proposing wasn't what the plan was when it was originally thought about and considered how we were going to move forward. So hopefully in the near future, and I told them too, I said, listen, our 6 towns here are living next door to 4 of the largest municipalities in the province: St. John's, Mount Pearl, Paradise, and CBS. We don't want to be an afterthought when it comes to this thing. We want to be an equal partner when it comes to discussing and make sure that our voices are heard and not drowned out by our larger neighbors. And, you know, I think that each municipality, when it comes time to do that, I think there's 15 involved, Ralph, 14, 15 altogether?
Yeah, at least.
That everybody's only going to have one member there, one voice. So we'll see how it goes. You know, I'm hopeful that it's going to get done, but that seems to be the big push for where we're going. I also asked a question to the minister about the provincial waste management review that was done back in 2019, and probably almost everybody here, I don't know, unless you saw that report or were interested in it, probably don't even know that much about it. When we were in Labrador in 2019 for a UMC meeting, there was a lady there then, she was a consultant working for the government, reviewing waste management across the province. There were some recommendations in there, or plans moving forward, that was gonna have a real negative effect on us in this region in terms of the cost to provide waste management. There seemed to be in that a desire to make the cost of waste management across the province equitable. And I don't know what equitable means, but I know that we pay 70 some odd dollars a ton at Robin Hood Bay for our waste management. And to me, that's equitable. If you can bring your garbage there and that's what everybody's gonna pay, but in other parts of the province, in particular on the West Coast, Northern Peninsula and areas like that, the cost of waste management over the last number of years has skyrocketed. It's ballooned to the point where the bill for waste management is 5 times larger than it was. So if our waste management bill ever went 5 times larger, it was, it'd go from around 450,000 or 400,000 to 2 million, that would be a big impact on us. So I just expressed some interest in that and asked a question about it. But the minister, to her credit, she wrote it down, but she said that is under the Department of Environment now and is not under Municipal Affairs anymore. And I said, well, that's because they switched it used to be under Municipal Affairs and Environment. Now, when they did the realignment of the departments, it's no longer under hers. But I haven't heard a thing about that. So it wasn't very well received across the province, I know, when they were talking about it. So hopefully they decided to shelve that and kind of start over again and figure out what they're going to do with waste management. There were some questions raised. I know Mayor Hickey asked about potential cost for regional government body that municipalities would have to pay into. Again, those decisions haven't been made yet on how a regional government is going to look. In some areas of the province, it's going to look one way. In other areas of the province, it's going to look another. So going back onto the fact that they're talking about the near plan as our next step forward. So it, to me, there really wasn't much information to garner from that. So that's basically it. I guess the overall takeaway from the meeting was no decisions have been made yet because it's still it's a recommendations from the working group. Cabinet has not took a decision on where regional government is going to happen, what it's going to look like, how big the regions are going to be, where they're going to be, who's going to be included, how they're going to pay. All these things haven't been decided yet. And the only thing that has been kind of decided is that they're going to be moving forward with the near plan, and we should get some information from the government soon on that coming to the town. And when I receive it, it'll come to me, it'll probably come to Don. When we receive it, we'll circulate it to all the council so you can have a look at it and see what it means. Any questions? Go ahead.
I've got a comment. Mayor, that's the first that I've heard about the usage of the near plan, and I'd be interested to see what all of the member communities of the near plan would have to say. And I don't know, they weren't all there in that meeting, were they?
No, it's just our region.
So my understanding, and I've been part of the executive with municipalities in Newfoundland and Labrador, working with the provincial government to get ready for this discussion around regionalization. I feel that's a very important discussion. However, my understanding from working with that working group has been that we have the document, which is a concept, which is what we put forward. And there's a group working with us at the M&L table to have the discussion about how to work forward collectively. The Northeast Avalon region, in that document, it says that area right now doesn't really need us to get involved. That's what that document says. So, and I've been advocating that, well, actually this region does need support to talk about regionalization. So this is very interesting to hear that. I think that from my perspective, what I want to make sure the message that gets out to people about this is that what that plan proposes is that for each of the regions of the province, there's an opportunity for communities to come together, come to the table, have a conversation about how do we want to work together, where are those efficiencies. There is a timeline in the document, and it talks about having a staff person in each region to work with that collective of communities. The areas are the ones that are going to present back to the province, here is how we see ourselves working together, and then from that, that's where I understand the modeling for the discussion around the province is supposed to be developed, because it's really hard to have a one-size-fits-all for all areas of this province. But one of the things that we advocated for and our membership really pushed for was to make sure that the voices of the communities were heard in this discussion. It wasn't just the province deciding that they were going to implement the model that they felt was what they thought made best sense. The experts in this process are the people in the communities on the ground who are working together to try to figure out how do we look after what we need in our town, and how do we come together and find solutions. And you remember Mayor Mike Doyle talking about the solutions that he's had with Mayor Craig Williams and all of the the people together, and they've got a really good model of, you know, we're a handful of communities, we've come together, we've got our agreements in place, and we're showing you that regionalization can work well. So I think it's really interesting to hear the thinking of the province on this, but I also think it's really important for anyone who hears this and panics and goes, oh, the province is going to tell us. The understanding is that I have is that there's a staff person who will be hired, and the regions, and I expect Northeast Avalon would have the same ability to talk about how does this impact us and what does it look like, and then feed that information back to the province.
The near plan group that will be assembled, I guess, my understanding would be very similar to how it was before, which would be the 15 towns. M&L is also at the table in that. And, but to your point about the government is not going to dictate to anybody how they need to do it. But Cabinet needs to make a decision before anything can happen about how to go forward in terms of that staff person and that supports, right? So.
Right, but my understanding is they're going to listen to the regions. I guess that's the point that I wanted to make, because they make those decisions.
Yep.
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you. I know it was a mouthful, and it probably, if I had been able to get it typed up quicker, I could have sent it out to you, but it was no good of me taking a picture of my hand scratches on a piece of paper and forward it to you, but, anyway. All right.
Mayor, can I ask one more question on that? I'm just curious, I know we've asked the question before, but there has been meetings of the Northeast Avalon mayors doing different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been a process put in place for someone to take the minutes of those discussions and share them back to the councils? I know we've had the conversation and asked the question, but I think the formality of, you know, if we're having these meetings and a hosting staff person in each, you know, community, if there's someone there to track it and have a common set of minutes that goes out to all the communities so we're all on the same page. I remember having the discussion, but I don't know if it's something that's been actioned yet.
I know that when we host, Dawn is always there to take, and she takes minutes and shares them back, right? So
Yeah.
We're just getting back into the swing of things now with this, and this meeting was requested by our two MHAs. I don't know if there was a staff person present in Portrait Cove to take minutes at that meeting.
Yeah.
And so I'll ask Don to reach out to the town and see if there was.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it's something maybe we can bring back as an agenda item for the next discussion to ask if that can be a common thing, like we do with the Jack Byrne.
Yeah.
You know, we have the minutes, and then they were supposed to be brought back to all the communities and put in our package so everyone can see. It'd be nice if we had something similar like that when the mayors meet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Appleby, to your question, what has happened in the past is that the mayors meet quarterly. So the minutes are taken, brought to the next meeting. Once they're reviewed and agreed upon the discussions, then they go back to the respective towns. So there hasn't been another mayor's meeting since they met here.
Right.
Yep.
Thank you. But yeah, I'm just wondering, like something like meeting with the minister is a very important discussion, and I think it's really important that the same minutes around what was heard, you know, was tabled at all of the towns, right?
Yep.
So, yeah.
Can I just comment briefly? Now, past practice, when this first got started, the town who hosted each meeting,
Took the minutes.
they had a staff person.
Yeah.
We had Don, and that was the intent. And
Yeah.
hopefully that has continued.
No, that's right. All right. Oh my God, where are we to? Correspondence. Got a correspondence here from, who's this from, Don? Town Hall address funding, federal funding for rural communities. So this is from, I'm trying to figure out oh, it's from who?
Opposition members.
Oh, okay.
Looking for council's participation in a roundtable, so if any member of council's interested after reviewing the correspondence, they can let me know and I can send along their contact information.
Okay, perfect. All right, so everybody review that letter and see if you're interested in participating in that.
Mayor,
Yeah.
can I ask to be excused just for a minute? I've got a call from my son, and I
Yeah, go ahead.
just need to take it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay, and we got a letter here from Department of Municipal and Provincial Affairs, Capital Investment Plan Approval. So, this is funding that we're getting?
This confirmation of gas tax funding approval.
Okay,
So
all right.
the directors of infrastructure, public works, and corporate services have that, and directors are going to meet with myself just to review and ensure all's in order. But it'll come back through infrastructure, public works committee implementation.
All right, thank you. All righty.
Sorry, can I ask clarification on that? Don, you say it's going to come back to us at infrastructure to discuss again prior to moving ahead with the projects?
Updates will be provided, right? So there was motion to council already passed to submit the CIP, and this is the approval now, so we're just going to review the scope of work, and then it'll come back to committee.
Okay, and just make note on that, speaking to the director earlier too, on the last one there on the drinking water. For
That's
$67,000.
why
That's tied into some action afterwards, so
Yep.
we need to really have some idea what that order of magnitude may be before we spend this 67,
Correct.
right?
That's why we're having the additional
Okay.
meeting.
Thank you.
It's important to note there that there's a remaining 124,000. Not to lose sight of that in the last paragraph there, Councillor Pollard.
Sure.
Right, okay. All right. Good point, Deputy Mayor. All right, committees of council, committee of the whole, planning, land use development. Councillor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. I don't know if everybody can hear me or not. I sound louder this way. We met on the 8th. I met by Zoom, and Councillor Tapper was here in person with, no, I'm sorry. Yes, Councillor Tapper was here in person. The first motion is for the institution, I guess, of a home office at 43 Lower Street. This is an HR-related business and not expected to generate any additional traffic or noise or anything along those lines. So it's a discretion of council. So there's a motion here to conditionally approve application BR 2022-002 for proposed home office use at 43 Lower Street in accordance with regulations 33 and 90 of Torbay Development Regulations 2015 to 2025, subject to standard conditions for the home office uses in the town as outlined in attached background report. So moved.
Second?
Mover to seconder, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I assume that that's Codner House, is it? That the one that, okay.
The item number 2 is for a motion to recommend the information provided from the amendment that was put in for a rezone of residents on 615 Balleen Line from rural to residential infill. It's essentially subdividing a piece of property that currently exists in rural. It went through all the amendment process. It does back onto a conservation area, but it's not, it doesn't impact the conservation area. And it currently does anyway in its existing state. So I went through the Commissioner's report and there was no modifications requirement. So the motion to approve Torbay Municipal Plan Amendment Number 5, 2022, and Torbay Development Regulation Amendment Number 9, 2022, commonly referred to as 615 Balleen Line amendments, as recommended and without modifications. So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The third item here refers to purchase of land on 1 William Manning Drive, and if council remembers, back in September of 2021, there was a resolution for us to make an offer on a piece of property that is adjacent to our existing depot and should have really been part of the adjacent, the depot land when it was originally done, but for some reason it was not. We had offered a price based on appraisal value. They had refused at the time, but now we're in a situation where the agreed amount is as per the appraised value. So make a recommendation to purchase 607.8 square meters parcel of land in the William Manning Road right away at the appraised value of $23,000 in keeping with the 2022 budget. That's to say that there's money in the budget for purchase of property, land. So moved.
Second?
Seconded. Questions, comments? I got a comment. So, I remember back when we purchased that property for the depot, and the landowner at the time, Seacom, that we purchased the land from, one of the requirements for them to sell us the land was that we would allow them to have a right-of-way in that area to get to their other additional land. So on their survey, it even showed right-of-way. But then they sold the land to Bercy's and sold right-of-way. So that's kind of how we ended up getting in that spot. If they had remained to go back into their own land, they would have done that. So I don't know, like, kind of what happened there, but it's what it is now. I guess they decided they didn't want to. They still own the land behind or down to the other side of the depot. So I don't know how they were planning on getting to it when they sold it right away. But anyway,
No, just make a comment. I was wondering on that myself because, there was a right of way going right, past the depot to allow development. And when this came along, I said, what happened there? But there's the answer.
there's the answer.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And the last one is just to accept the permits for weeks. So the motion is to accept 2022 permit listing for weeks ending June 9th, 2022 as tabled. So moved.
Moved.
Second?
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, sir.
Your Worship, before I finish the report, I'd just like to comment on the letter from YBC, and
Yep.
there are some, we do know that there are issues still outstanding in terms of planning and development, waiting for certain decisions to be made, and we're certainly trying our best to get through those, and hopefully in the next, interim period of time, we will be able to move some of those through. But I mean, everyone knows we don't have any water, and that is a huge issue, and there's a bunch of decisions resting on that, and it's not an easy process. But at the end of the day, we're just going to, draw the line, make the decision, and move on and let the chips fall where they may, and let all parties decide how they wish to proceed, and that's the best we can do at it. So stay tuned, and we'll have something forthcoming.
Can I ask the question on the status when we're talking about that? I know with Yvonne Dillon, and I mean, it's the bigger, the broader part of this, but did anything ever go out on that water policy to get back to Yvonne on that?
I'd have to defer it to.
Okay.
I think there was this one meeting held, I personally wasn't at that particular meeting about the policy, and I think whatever came out of that is still in the works, I think.
I know the discussion around it was actually I'll say, for lack of a better word, a lateral count or whatever it was, to find out exactly where we stand from all folks existing. I know CAO Don had interjected after we had discussed it at a previous meeting in terms of trying to figure out exactly where we stand with the water allocations. So Don, I don't know if you can update that. I don't mean to put you on the spot now or anything, but just
Okay. All right, any other questions? All right. Admin and HR. Councillor Manning.
Just
Yeah.
before we do that, I had a family member that was actually in the interview process for one of those positions, so I just didn't know if I should make aware whether it's a conflict or not.
Are we making a decision?
The name is not in the list, is it?
It is in the list.
It is in the list. All right.
Just want to be sure.
Okay, all right, so that's a good point, thank you for bringing that up. So,
I can make a motion.
what do you feel that you should do?
I just wanted to make everybody aware of it, that no, I did not have any doing with it. He interviewed and was hired for the position. So I don't know how we want to, I just wanted to be made aware.
Okay, What do you think,
There's
Tom?
no motion.
I don't see an issue. There's
no
nothing here.
motion.
The decision's been made. You're just listing the names of people that
Right,
are there.
okay.
Okay.
All
It's
right,
not
well,
a
that makes-
motion.
We're gonna have a motion to vote on, so I don't see
Yeah.
any issue there.
All good. Thank you. Okay.
And we'll have it reflected in the minutes though?
Yeah.
Do you want to do a motion on it just to make sure? Because there's
Well, I
no-
mean, I don't think there's a need. There's
Okay.
no, we're not making the decision
That's
here.
right.
The decision's already been made.
Yep.
He just wanted to make it aware that, council as a whole, we don't have any say into this, right?
Thank you.
Okay.
Are you doing it? Okay.
Well, I wasn't there. Would it be better for you to read them out, or?
Well, it's just, I just assumed, but
Yeah.
it's only straightforward, so it don't matter.
My goodness, I'd prefer you did it, where you
Okay.
were there,
Oh, gee, thanks.
in person.
Recruitment selection, we had our meeting on, all I know, it was one day last Thursday, I think it was, on the 9th. And just wondering, is there any update on the capital asset mapping technologies? Anything? Because I know the 15th is in here. I'm asking the director,
Yeah.
is there anything? So, okay.
No, so there's no change from what's in the minutes, except for the fact that that start date will be pushed out from that date.
Okay.
So we're just waiting on a couple of items pertaining to that competition to be finalized with respect to the employment terms and conditions.
Okay, thank you. Summer positions are all there, listed out. We had asked a while back. The History House update. Policies and procedures, business continuity policy. Director of Human Resources has commenced the process of reviewing the various material, draft the framework. Performance management policy. And the strategic plan 2022-2025. Do we have another date in mind? That's, okay.
So the director and I met this morning, and we're going to bring forth a date before the end of the week. We had originally scheduled it for June 14th, but that didn't transpire, right? So we'll bring that forth. And just regarding the capital asset mapping technologists, Director of Corporate Services, HR, and myself are meeting tomorrow morning, so we'll have more information after that meeting.
Okay, sounds good. And the town is hosting the Employee Service Awards event on Friday. So, anybody got any questions? Next meeting is on July 6th.
Can I ask one question? I'm really happy to see the business continuity policy and the performance management policy in here. That's great. Just wondering if there's timelines around when we can expect to see that, like the drafts and stuff. No pressure, just trying to get an idea of how long we think that might take and just to get an idea around timeframe, if I could.
Yep, so I've started like I said, the minutes, the process of collecting materials. There's been some work done as well for the town of Torbay in previous terms of council, and that needs to be looked at for relevancy. So my goal and aim is to have a report or a draft policy on both those items in the next 4 to 6 weeks. So I'm hoping that over the course of the next month or two, we'll have policies in draft mode for committee to review, and then they'll be brought forward to council for a motion.
Awesome, thanks. And those will include, like for the business continuity, we're talking about acting, succession planning, those sorts of things, so
Yes.
that it's very clear for people. And I think it's important where we're a small organization to allow employees the opportunity to cross-train and make sure that they're able to, look after duties if someone else is out, those sorts of things. So that's the scope
Yeah.
of what you're looking at there?
Yeah, that business continuity policy will be multifaceted. It'll have a number of different items within that policy, so that's going to be a heavy hitter. It's a big policy, but there are various components as you spoke to.
Yep.
Along with some others, working alone, I believe, is going to be covered off in there as well, along with a couple of other items, so.
Awesome, Mark, thank you. And
Yep.
for the performance management policy, I believe there was a reference to performance management work being done in the last package or somewhere. I've seen it recently. So I'm just curious to see, like, for the time frame on this for performance management, what's the scope of this? Is this going to be like director level, all employee level? And from that perspective, I'm just curious to see, is this, like timeframes for when we're setting up? Is this going to say, okay, well, now we're gonna start them in January, end them, in December, there's a mid-year review? Is this continuation of the discussions that we had a little while back about
Yeah.
the frequency of these and what's gonna be included and that kind of stuff?
Yeah,
Is that what that is?
so, I mean, there is we have performance management plans in place for new hires. I think previous committee that you were part of, we talked about this. So that's still in motion.
Perfect.
This is a continuation, I think, of that work to now look at all employees within the organization. So those who have tenure of more than a year or two who deserve a performance management plan of some sort. So this policy work is an extension of the policy, I guess, or the work that's currently in place. But it's about finalizing it now and rolling it out to all staff. And my endeavor is and hope is that by the fall we'll move into having a performance management plan and a policy that's for everyone within the organization, and not just new hires that have come on board since last June when I commenced in the role.
Music to my ears.
Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That policy is another heavy hitter because we're looking at all positions, director level positions, employee level positions, and we need to look at a number of different elements within that policy: performance-based pay, potentially, duration, frequency, and so those two policies in themselves will take the better part of 4 to 6 weeks to draft for sure.
Fabulous, thank you, appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, the director's performance management, like there is one for the directors, because I understood that's been on the go for the last couple of years, hasn't it? So it's basically the staff, so yeah, the directors. Okay, so the directors have already done.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, that it?
That's it?
Thank you. Corporate Services, Councillor Tapper.
Okay, there's a number of documents there. We'll start off with the committee report, dated June 13, 2022. Just read this into the record, most of it anyway, a few motions. Payroll, regular payroll for 44 employees for a 2-week period ended June 3rd, 2022, total $90,237.80. Accounts payable for the 2-week period ended June 3rd, 2022. Invoices in the amount of $122,577.65 were processed. So we have some invoices for approval. There's 7 operating invoices totaling $84,039.36. So I will present those. Invoice number, May 2022, CIBC Mellon, pension contributions for May, $23,055.38. Invoice 15123167, North Atlantic Diesel, $6,931.68. Invoice 309415.7A, North Atlantic Unleaded Gas, $5,541.78. Invoice Receiver General, payroll deductions May the 16th to the 31st, $29,335.06. Invoice SJ 72336, Tormont Cat Snowblower Attachment Repairs, $7,461.26. Invoice 213672, Triware Technologies Inc., IT Support, $5,750. Invoice 505565, Wajax Equipment, Boom Truck Repairs, $5,964.20. I move these be approved for payment.
Seconded.
Seconded. Questions?
Just one. Just looking at the pension contributions, and I'm curious to know, are we still working through the process of the benefits and pension review? I haven't seen an update on that in a while. I'm just curious where we are before we.
We haven't received to date any information from TRIO. I will follow up again with Mary. And just to make council aware, I was actually appointed to the board of TRIO at the PMA meetings last week. So hopefully that will give us some insight into getting our benefits usage information, which would need before we go to market.
Would that cause an issue for us if we're asking a question about a review, if we've got our director at that table? I'm just curious, I don't know.
So when I was on the PMA board, I was the trio rep, and that very question was asked, and council deemed that I was not in conflict.
Should we take a vote to protect Norm? Is that something we should do? I'm just,
The conflict
sorry, I know we're in a different
no,
motion,
the
but-
conflict of interest provisions in the Act only apply to council, they don't provide to staff. That was my request, but council at the time deemed that it wasn't necessary. So if this council feels that's a difference of case, I would suggest that. Just further to your question as well, Councillor Appleby, regarding the performance management policies and review. As part of that, there'll also be the recommendation coming back around compensation benefits and how all that links to performance management. So all that'll be tied up with that as well too. So this is really up to council's discretion if they want to put a motion in place for the director.
So I think, just to stick to this motion for the payment on this, I just want to note that I think this is the 4th or 5th year now that I've been asking about the review on our pension benefit, and I've also been asking for the review on our our pensions and benefits. And I was a member of the TRIO board once upon a time as well. I just feel that my understanding of the situation is that, you know, TRIO was set up in the beginning to provide this service for municipalities across the province as a collective, and for smaller municipalities in particular that would really struggle to provide pension and benefits for their communities. You know, as a collective plan, it made sense, and that was great. Since then, I have learned that some municipalities don't have their health benefits and pensions with TRIO. And I understand that, like, you know, in situations like with COVID, if you weren't able to go to take advantage of some of your benefits, then they were able to be paused, and the town didn't have to pay in for it. And some of the abilities of staff to not have to pay in as much, the town not to pay in as much, or flexibilities that might not have been there with TRIO. So either way, it doesn't matter to me where we go, because I have nothing to do with that. But I think it's really important that we as a town make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck for our staff and for the costs, because we pay into it as municipality as well as the staff. So I just want to make sure that, I know for a lot of different reasons, it's come up, it's been pulled off, it's come up, it's been pulled off. I just want to make sure that we have a documented, fair review of what's happening around it for the public and for our staff, so they're aware, and then move it forward. I do want to thank the Director of Corporate Services for sharing that he has been appointed to that board. And I would ask, I don't know how council will want to proceed beyond this motion, to have a discussion about, you know, is there a concern? I know under the current act, CAO is right that there isn't a provision. I believe there will be a provision in the next edition of the act to make sure that staff considerations are there. But I just want to make sure that we're flagging this again, because it's been something that I've been flagging for a while. Thank you.
Councillor Appleby, there is a motion on the record for us to go to RFP. The Director of Corporate Services has an extensive background in pension and benefits, and this information that he has requested is vital to the RFP process. He hasn't received it to date, so we're hoping now that he'll be able to receive it and we can move forward. So it is the intent to move forward for a review.
Thank you. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, I can't speak to it because I am president of TRIO at the present time. Can I make a suggestion that the Director of HR take that to take Norm out from under the potential, and they can still work hand in hand to get the information, but certainly the legwork, I'm sorry, Mark, can reach out to TRIO and ask for that information and do all that type thing, and even accumulate that, and then it can come back naturally that way, rather than have Norm under any scrutiny related to it.
Okay.
Right?
I agree with that. He's not in any conflict whatsoever to work on this for the town. But because now you're on the board, the request probably to the board for the information should probably come from Mark, to Tony's point. I think that's a good idea. All right. Okay, any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Okay, there's one capital invoice. The invoice number 6018, Rodco Mechanical, 2014 Limited, copper top lift station panel replacement, $8,625. Move for payment.
Seconded.
Seconded, questions?
Can I just ask, was this budgeted, or is this an emergency thing we have to do, general maintenance? What's the status?
I'm not certain.
Yeah, sure, that was budget item from 2021. So that's our annual panel replacement. So
Okay.
this year coming up, we'll be doing the Marine Drive one, which is budgeted as well.
Awesome.
Actually, it's one of the gas tax ones that was mentioned earlier.
Appreciate it,
Yep.
thank you.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
There's a couple of other items there that I'll just mention. Purchasing order processing, and I'll just read this. After review of the first quarter variances and results of operations for the 3 months then ended, it was noted that several general ledger accounts are approaching the total annual budgeted amount. The Director of Corporate Services will be implementing an electronic control in the town suite financial platform that prevents the posting of a purchase order to an expenditure account, which would result in the accounting in the account being over budget. This would require the requester of the PO to identify savings in other budget accounts, which will cover the amount of the PO. Upon notification of which budget account the required budgetary funds are to be transferred from, the Director of Corporate Services will facilitate the transfer of budgeted funds with the agreement of the Director of the functional area. This control will help keep the expenditures of the town within the approved budget level. So that's there for your information if you have any questions.
Councillor Hepper, when are we planning on meeting again? Because I guess we were looking at in June month to look at the budget, because we're already over substantially in some of the GLs. So,
We were hoping to discuss this at our next, there's a few finance-related items. We were hoping to get them on the docket for the next committee of the whole meeting.
Okay. Can you make a note of that, CAO, please?
yeah, because
It is a big concern.
I guess from where I'm sitting, like, if you're overspent in a GL, and I know that wasn't something that we did until much later in the year, but if the funding is not in a particular GL, then it should be identified where it's coming before that invoice is paid. Or, well, if, in the case of an emergency, but I think that that's to the point that we're to at this point. Like,
So we were going to look to the end of second quarter, which is June 30th, and then talk about the expenditures to date, projections to year end, and then the overages then.
Okay. Yep.
And there's another item there, number 5, carrying forward items for your information as well. There's a couple of late invoices. One there from the History House, MPG. It's for content development and exhibit design, totaling $23,052. I'll move this for payment.
Moved. Seconded. Questions?
I do. Is this part of what we're doing already? Is this part of what we've got the project management people doing for us, the budget expenses? Is that what that is?
Yes, I believe it is, yeah.
Perfect,
And
thank
it's
you.
each budget, within budget, yeah.
Thank you.
Good. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And there's another invoice here for Weir's Construction, new sidewalks. And this is another late invoice. And I'll get Director to explain this one, please.
This is the progress payment for the sidewalks on Torbay Road. We looked at the project, and the project will be, right now as anticipated, will be slightly over budget, so there will be some extra expenditures on this project. And in consultation with committee, what we would like to do on a go-forward basis is when we're budgeting projects, is to put a contingency fee in for change orders, cost overruns, things like that. Because right now, the town will be on the hook for a part of the overages on this project, and they weren't budgeted.
So that amount we're looking at here is,
This is a project payment. The amount, the project is not finished. The original estimate was that the project would be about $50,000 over budget. I was speaking to Clooney at Wood, but they found some quantity savings in other areas of the project, so he's not sure where it'll be now in total, but it should be less than $50,000 over budget on the project.
It's interesting, since we thought that it came under.
Actually, that is true, because the project was actually originally $2.3 million, and the contract come in at $800,000.
Yeah.
So what's going on there, it's actually gonna be $50,000 over the $80,000. So still under the amount that was awarded to the town originally,
I know, which you
right?
would
So he's still $1
think
million below, right?
that was funding that we had, and we gave back, and now we have to come up with it again. Just don't make no sense.
Did you put
So
forward
I-
a motion, yes? Put forward a motion so I can speak to this.
yes, this is confusing. I just saw this later on this evening, so I just want to make sure everybody knows what they're voting on here. What amount?
Could we ask for the invoice to be broken in? 'Cause I'm with
The amount
you,
is
Councilor Tapper.
sorry.
I don't understand.
About $78,037 is the amount.
There you go. Okay.
Oh, the bottom line.
Can, just because I'm looking at a bunch of different numbers here, can someone explain to me the 880, the 132, the 1 million plus, and then where it adds up? Because this is all very small print, and we're just seeing this for the first time,
So the 880 is the original tender amount.
right?
Additionals and extras are 132,000, bringing the total contract to 1,013,000.
So is the 132 the overage?
It would appear from here, but Clooney doesn't think it's going to be that high.
Okay, this is why I'm asking for it to be
Yeah.
read out to make sure I understand. And then the total amount is over here, and the progress payment is the 78,000.
Yes.
That's down here.
So the total work they've done to date is 547, less the 10% holdback for completion, giving total billable of 492. And then there's one changeover of 4394, less the holdback and the change order. So you get back to total work value that they've done is 552, less your total holdback. So total work billed is 496. Previous progress payments are 428, leaving the amount of work billed on this one of 67,000 plus HST to arrive at the 78,037.
Excellent, thanks, Norm. That's great. It's really hard to see with the print so small. Appreciate it.
So I move that we pay this invoice for $78,037.83 for Ware's Construction.
Seconded. Comments?
But that's not coming out of our money, that's coming out of the money that was already approved for. Okay, just wanted to,
Maybe,
okay.
maybe, it's only a progress payment. Can we get some clarification on what that 132,000 worth of extras is? The way I'm looking at this now is that I got two questions. The tender amount was $880,000. What was the total amount approved for the project? Do we have slack in the approval amount to be able to go beyond the 880? Because we got addition extras. If the only money that's been funded for us is 880, we're on the hook for potentially $132,000, because obviously they identified some additions and extras which are beyond what the quantity would have been in the first place. Can we get some clarification on exactly what the total funding was approved for this project, so we know what we're potentially on the hook for? We have a gap. If something comes in as a tender amount and is below the approved funding amount, we may be able to get the gap in approved funding if it's multi-year capital works money. Right? If 880 was the amount that was approved from capital works money, and we got $132,000 of extras, there needs to be something somewhere that approves that $132,000 worth of extras in order to change orders, something along those lines, to bring us to the 1 million 13,000. I know this bill is only for essentially half the work that they're saying needs to be done, so I don't have any problem continuing the payment to Weirs at this point in time. We still have $54,000 worth or more for holdback to pay them yet at some point. But can we get some clarification on what that extras is?
I will follow up with Clooney on that, and also on the amount that was approved by the province for funding for the project.
Yes, and I guess the fallout norm would be what our potential exposure to additional cost on this particular project is.
Yes.
Thanks.
So the $880,947.73 HST included is the tender submitted by Weirs. That does not include the wood information, the wood fee.
Right, so it's still, I guess, yes. So if the tender was 880, someone identified 132,000 more of extras, because this is a Weir-related invoice contract
Correct.
payment, nothing to do with wood, so
Correct.
the wood cost is gonna be separate altogether.
Correct.
Right, so there's gonna be, I guess what it boils down to is that we need to know what the total approval was for that particular project. What the cost is above the 132, above the $880,000, we need to know what that is, or like to know what that is, because that really is, that's more than 10%, that requires a motion of council anyway, to be approved to move forward. And then if there's any shortfall, what our potential exposure on that project is.
So if there was extras, they would have had to come back in and say what the extras were, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's an estimate, potential, right there, we're looking at.
So can I
Yes.
suggest we withdraw this invoice for now?
No.
Are you clear on it?
Yeah.
The invoice is fine.
So that's fine.
Yeah.
But I think we need more information for the entirety of the project.
Yeah,
for sure.
Just thinking about that sign out there that they've got, 2.3 million, but that's not reality because they took a portion of that back.
I got a few comments to make on that myself.
I know, but we shouldn't be out there because it's not the true picture of what we're after receiving, right?
Right.
Came under that and,
That was the approved funding, 2.3 million.
yeah, but that's not what we received.
So, anybody?
Makes them look good.
What's approved in MSIS is 140,511 for wood and 880,947 for Weirs.
What project is that? Is that an ISIP project, Norm, or is it
It is.
Multi-Year Capital Works?
That is nice
I
So
project.
where,
One-third, yeah.
can we find out what the 132 is, or is?
Yes, I will follow up on that.
Because that's our exposure there then.
So, to that point of that sign out there in our parking lot, and to how much money we got approved for, this is the part that really drives me crazy. Because when we were looking at this project originally, going from Mans Lane to Juniper Ridge, we were all in, and that's what we applied for. And then they came back and told us to break it up into phases in case you might go over, because people don't understand. You get approved for a certain amount of money. If you go over, the town is responsible for all overages. So we broke it into certain phases. Then when they approved it, and when we got the tenders back, it was 800 whatever plus the piece from wood, so it would have been like 1.1 million, right?
1,021,000.
Right. So that's the total project cost, not 2.3.
No.
So we're $1.2 million that we did not get. And I've spoken to ministers and the premier and to anybody who will listen to me when my mouth is flapping about why is it that we can't avail of the rest of that money that was awarded to us as part of that project. And the answer always, well, you know, you can't expand the scope of your project. And I argued, and we've all argued, we didn't expand the scope of the project. The scope of the project goes from Mans Lane to Juniper Ridge and everywhere in between. All we did was try and break it up into phases so we wouldn't get stuck with an overage bill. So when we did our due diligence, we were being careful Now, all of a sudden, the project was so much less. They just took that money and allocated it somewhere else to another town. It drives me crazy.
And now we could still end up back and being charged for
No, we're
going over.
gonna end up paying more anyway, when there's still another
They
$1
didn't
million
give us
left
enough.
on the table that we
Yes,
could have availed
that's
of that
my
we didn't get. And
frustration.
It's really frustrating, you know, so, anyway, that's all I got to say about that. So next time that gets involved in one of these bids, at least now we know the traps that we could fall into, to make sure next time that we know if we're gonna end up paying over, we might as well go for the whole kick caboodle.
While I'm thinking about that, did we ever find out a way to get that emergency sign for the fire department?
We're working on that, Tony, I think, are we? Through
Tony?
Public Works.
Okay.
I saw something about that in
The
our last
sign for the fire trucks,
The
the
lights.
emergency sign. For the fire department, because we thought it was going to be included in the sidewalk.
Yes, and the discussion around that was, we're gonna try to get out of a gas tax, but because the gas tax projects aren't finished yet, we got to, and it looks like there's potential overruns in some of those projects, we need to find out exactly what gas tax money is left. And it almost needs to find out where the Ready Drive and Country Drive projects come in. So yes, we'll.
But the
know more
infrastructure
as
is
that
in the
comes
ground.
The infrastructure is in the ground, yes.
We still have a
Yes.
motion on the table.
Yeah, we're talking to the motion.
I don't think so. Fire truck signs.
All right, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, from the committee minutes, let me see. We discussed payroll and accounts payable processed. They were processed for a 2-week period ending June 3rd, 2022. Invoices greater than $5,000 refer to document 6. The check register refer to document 7. So there's some other things I just want to mention. Bad debt write-off policy, this item was referred to the committee of the whole. Interest on tax arrears. Interest has not been charged on tax arrears since the onset of the COVID pandemic in March 2020. As the pandemic is winding down and economic conditions are returning to a normalized level, the Director of Corporate Services has requested that interest on overdue accounts be reinstated. The committee recommends reinstating interest on arrears balances. Does that require a motion, CAO?
Yes, because I believe there was a motion that when the, to waive the interest during the pandemic, so to reinstate it, we should get a motion.
Okay. Well, I'm going to so move that, reinstating interest on arrears balances.
Second.
Can we put a date on that? I don't think we intend to reinstate for the term of COVID. So it's just at a point in time. We suspended it 2 years ago, I think, or I don't know, I can't remember a motion of council for it, but if we did, and we reinstate, then reinstate as in just turn the interest back on as of
Today's date.
today's date, right?
Right, not include the time frame.
Right, not include the gap of time, so if there was interest in,
Effective,
if there's interest in arrears prior, they stay, and then we just suspend it for the period of time during COVID, and then reinstate or add on as the case may be.
Okay.
Good point. I guess you call it a friendly amendment.
Yeah,
Okay.
got it? All right.
I've got a comment on it.
Right.
I'm struggling with this just because there are still families that are struggling, and I understand that this is something that we need to do. I do understand that. I just don't know that now is the time for us to do that. You know, I can tell you that I spoke to families today, and there was a lady I spoke to, and she said, no, my kid has COVID right now. I can't do this, I can't do that. There's still people that I know who are laid off, you know, and unable to go back to work, and there's all kinds of different reasons. So I understand this is something that as a municipality we do need to do. I just feel that I'd rather see us do this and have this conversation about, you know, the taxes and charging that interest when we are going into our next fiscal year. I don't know that right now is the time yet for us to bring this forward. Well, those are my comments.
Any other comment?
Well, I do wonder one thing. Obviously, I do agree it is a time like this, but we also have a policy now that if somebody is in that situation, that they can come to the town and we can work out an agreement with them. I think, Director, would I be right in saying that?
We have a seniors discount policy, a low income policy, and we have a deferral policy. So there are mechanisms for taxpayers to come in and get taxes deferred, and we would not actually be forcing collection on their account once they provided the appropriate documentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comment? Okay.
Just in the legislation as well, we also have the opportunity to deal with individuals one-on-one. If there's any adjustments to accounts, we could do it anonymously and by motion of council to adjust whatever taxes we would wish to do based on whatever circumstances may be provided.
Okay, so we do have lots of flexibility there.
That was the point I was trying to bring across. We're not trying to bring any more hardships, but we do have the mechanisms in place that we can help people that needed to be helped.
Okay, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, next item there is retirement homes. This item was referred to the Committee of the Whole again. That's a big issue that we got to discuss before bringing forward. Number 7, bad debt write-offs year to date. The item is again referred to the Committee of the Whole. It's another huge item. So the PO postings. Yes, I touched base on that before. Sun Life shares, the town is in possession of Sun Life shares which were granted to the town during the demutualization of Sun Life in the late 90s. The shares have a current market value of $7,812.18. The Director of Corporate Services recommends selling these shares and depositing the funds into the town's general account. The committee agrees with this recommendation and authorizes the Director of Corporate Services to complete the necessary forms to complete the transaction. So I move that as a motion as well.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Question?
Yeah, this is a new one on me. How are the shares doing in relation to what we're disposing of, I guess, really? I know you got a bunch of shares, they're sitting, earning interest on some dollar amount. It's only a small dollar amount, $7,812. Forget it, pass it on. I'm not going there.
It's been there since the 90s.
Okay.
Dying on that hill.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
So there's some information there. Reallocation of road maintenance budget. Through discussions between Director of Infrastructure and Public Works and the Director of Corporate Services, it has been identified that the fleet maintenance budget is nearing the full amount budgeted with only half the year passed. In order to identify a possible transfer of budget amounts to Public Works, expenditure accounts were reviewed by the 2 directors. Several projects have been identified in the road maintenance budget that can be deferred until 2023 without a significant impact on service quality and no impact on health and safety. The Director of Corporate Services recommends that a budget transfer of $50,000 be completed to ensure that the fleet maintenance budget is sufficient to meet the needs of the municipality for the remainder of the year. The committee agrees with this recommendation, so I move that recommendation.
Seconded.
Before we speak to this, I need to ask a question about conflict. In the update here, there's information about road maintenance for Robin Place. And I don't live on Robin Place, but my children, I'm divorced and I have a shared custody agreement, and my children do live with their father part-time in a house on Robin Place. So it's their grandparents' home, and I don't know, I mean, I have asked the question in the past, and when I came in, I asked staff about it, just because You know, when there were questions about this before, of course, as we all know, I ask about conflict a fair bit. But I just want to ask for a motion on it before we talk about reallocating money from a roads budget to the fleet budget, if there could be any impact. I don't want to take a chance that there could be, and it's not my home,
Do
but
we
it's.
do we know which roads it's coming from?
No, so the road work that's being, going to be done on Avalon Place this year is actually coming from our capital, multi-year capital works money. So that wouldn't affect any of this in this case, but when we get into our listing for the public works, infrastructure and public works, Avalon Place will be listed there, but there is no motion there for that right now.
But I think I'd like to have it on the record, if I could, from council, just because.
There's no conflict.
Okay,
This particular thing that we're doing here
right,
has no impact on the roads work that.
okay.
It's
I'll bring
coming
it up
forward.
then when we do infrastructure and public works. I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that it's flagged and that I'm disclosing and that there's, you know, just proper process. I understood, and I have received information that there isn't a conflict, but I want to have it documented so that it's formalized.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So we got a motion on the floor.
Yeah.
One thing I would mention, and I want to belabor the point too much, but this is like the third motion now that we've created out of the minutes of the report
Yeah.
that weren't motions. So, you know, I'm okay for now, but I would recommend going forward that if we're going to have motions, they'd be motions.
Yeah.
All right?
Point taken.
Noted? Okay, thank you.
Can we ask which roads are the ones that are being identified here to not be action this year?
That's the same question that I got.
Which
So-
projects?
Yeah.
Yeah, same with me.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily roads. What our roads maintenance budget mainly does is, it's like when we do our ditching, when we do our shouldering, stuff like that, so paying for our Class A material and road gravel, stuff like that. It's also for areas around town where we might do larger road cuts, like little patches here and there. Those areas haven't all been identified this year, but over the last number of years now, we've done a nice bit of road work. And with our capital works money this year, we're doing 8 more streets. So after speaking with the Director of Corporate Services, I said, of any of the infrastructure and public works budgets that we can sort of pull from, that would be the easiest one, because we just won't do so many of those small patches here, there, and everywhere, right? So
What's the total cost for maintenance budget? Because that's one of the things that residents see, regardless of what it is, that they look at some work being done.
For
on
the
their
road work
particular-
maintenance?
On their, so
Yeah.
what was the maintenance? It used to be like 250.
It's $200,000.
200,000.
Yeah.
So they cut, this year we cut it back then from 250 to 200.
No, it was 200 last year
It
too, I
was
believe.
all at 200, so we're cutting it down, because I know that was an area that it was always good that you had that in public works to be able to do some work with it, right? Especially your ditches and what have you, because.
Yeah, the ditching won't be affected, like I say, it's more the patching when it comes down to it, the smaller patches. But if you drive around the town, which I do every single day, or pretty much every single day, most of the roads are in fairly good condition. The roads that are really bad are the ones that we're doing of those 8 this year, and we did 2 big ones last year, and we did a couple the year before that, so it's not going to, in my opinion, it was not going to interfere with anybody's.
It's being driven more by the fleet maintenance accounts. Our fleet maintenance budget for the year was $272,200, and what remains in that budget right now is $45,000.
And that goes back to the fact that previous councils didn't follow the maintenance or the fleet replacement policy.
And
So
same
if-
situation we were in this year because of the
Yeah.
budget.
If you get older equipment, it's gonna cost more, and again, like I said to the Director of Corporate Services, I don't know when a piece of equipment's gonna break down, sometimes it breaks, and that's it,
No, it's just unfortunate that it's
Yeah.
coming out of that particular budget line, because that is something that residents, if they got potholes on the road, that's one thing that they look forward, and they can say, well, at least council filled in potholes.
I don't think that we're gonna leave any potholes.
No.
No, I don't think
When
it'll
you
get
look at
that.
it, it's,
Yeah.
that's the amount that's
Yeah.
there, so.
Is it possible to defer this decision until we've got the second financial update at the end of the month and a better understanding of where things are? I'm all for making sure there's enough money for the fleet, absolutely. And if there is a crisis situation, I'm more than happy to have a public meeting and come deal with it if need be. But I do think, from my perspective, what I'd like to see is an understanding, and more for the public, you know, if we could have in here, you know, the roads that were done, the roads we are going to do, frame it out so people can better understand the liability issue, how much is there, like the deputy mayor is asking. And then, you know, get an idea, maybe Brian, of what the fleet expectations are. Is it beyond the 50,000 plus the 45? And then have that conversation at the Q2 update about, you know, if we're gonna have a shortage here, what does that look like halfway through the year? And are there other areas that we could have that discussion about? Because I think that, I'm not against this motion, I'm not against it, but I'm kind of feeling that if we had a little more information about the global financial picture, that we might be able to feel more confident in. Now, if you need the $50,000 right now for till the next month to make sure that we will be able to absorb fleet costs, that's different. But I'm just thinking that it seems to me there's a bigger discussion here about, we're halfway through, we're really at a place where you're asking for more resources. Where is that coming from? What does it mean for the global look at where we are in our $20 million budget? And, you know, what does that look like across the board, right? So that's kind of what I'm wondering, is it something we have to decide tonight, or would it be more prudent for us to look at it in the context of a larger piece, and then if there is a bigger ask or more of a need, have that discussion at the same time and motion it then? I don't know.
I'm not sure if that would matter. Corporate Services Director might be able to answer that, but I think my intent was to sort of defer using some of that money in there, because that's one of the larger budget lines within the department. Defer using that until later in the year, just in case we had to use it for that. I think that was our discussion, right? So I didn't realize there was going to be a motion for it, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's like deferring it, so like I said to Director of Corporate Services, it might come late October, early November. Fleet might be in top notch going, we're getting a new piece of equipment this year, and we're gonna get rid of one of the older ones. So it might come, like I said, late October, November, and we say, oh, that road up there, we should have done that, and we'll just go do it, because we know we got that little bit of buffer to get into next year, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
that makes
so it's not
sense.
necessarily that it's gonna be 100% used that way, but
Withdraw the motion.
we don't know, it might.
So this is basically just in case I need it, we put it over here,
Yeah.
it's still within the public works budget. As it gets later in the year, if it doesn't get used for maintenance, and you got some additional road work you can do, you can just shift.
Yeah, I think that was the intent of discussion we had, Director.
That sounds better.
That's how, I mean, that makes total
That
sense.
makes more sense.
If that makes you
I'm good with that.
feel more comfortable.
Anybody else? Okay.
No,
all in favor?
that's, I would think that we're gonna make more decisions around the budget once we get the half-year update, and to deal with one at a time is gonna make it pretty difficult, but if Director recognizes that he can hold off spending $50,000 till we have that reviewed, and I'm fine with the way it is right now.
Okay, all right. All in favor?
There are several accounts,
Yeah.
you know, in
Oh,
that
yeah.
same situation, right? So we're gonna,
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Okay, all in
Yeah,
favor?
What now? Hold on now.
What?
All in
I just want to add
favor?
that you're probably going to see some other things
We
come
won't
up
go
through
with that
the year
motion
as well.
That motion that Councillor Tapper, because it was the move that,
Yeah.
so,
So I thought we were gonna move it. It didn't make any difference.
no.
All
Leave
right,
it where it's to. So that's why I'm saying we need to withdraw that motion.
Right. Withdraw it, then, Ralph.
so done.
All in favor?
Withdraw, aye.
All right.
Okay.
You vote aye. You got any more motions you want to create out of that report?
No.
I know after the first one, and I'm thinking, oh, yes.
There's one more. One more.
Oh, there is, yeah. Now, there's an issue there, number 11, on workers' compensation, for your information as well. So just to move on to, I believe you've all got a motion there in front of you. Torbay Common signage. Following from the discussions of the committee during the meeting of June the 8th, as outlined in the minutes, the Corporate Services Committee recommends the removal of the Torbay Common, Torbay Road directional sign and the exterior parking lot, skateboard park and splash pad signage from the contract with Skyline Atlantic. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments?
Can I ask where this is coming from? My understanding is that the Torbay Commons signage was part of the $300,000 or $400,000 money that we received from ACOA through the Torbay Common Get It On The Go campaign. And my understanding as well is that this is resource money from ACOA that we will be handing back to the federal government. And I have understood for the last couple of years that we've asked Skyline, we've paid a deposit to Skyline to move this forward. And I know we've had the discussion in this chamber about where it could go and all the work that's been done around it. So this is something that's come up tonight. I don't know that I have enough information yet to vote on it. Can I get a background and understand how we got to where this motion is now, please?
I guess the biggest issue is the sign going out on Torbay Road. It's a huge sign, and we can't get a permit to put it anywhere on Torbay Road. We can't get approval from government, provincial government, to put it on Torbay Road. That's been stalled now for some time. It's been discussed in Recreation Committee.
Recreation and Finance.
And Finance, yeah. That's the biggest issue with this. And, you know, it is a huge sign and it is a lot of dollars, but we got nowhere to put it. If we do, it's in planning right now, design, but if we did get it,
what do you do with it?
So that's what we discussed. Cut it off before we really get nailed for it.
But this is saying like directional sign, and I can see the one on Torbay Road because that's been an issue from the very beginning. But then it says, and the exterior parking lot, skateboard park, so it almost seems like all the signage, when I read this, is gone.
There was a deposit paid to Skyline Atlantic on October 2nd, 2019 for outdoor signs at the Torbay Common for the parking lot, expectant mother, splash pad, skateboard park, and those are not being completed. They're not going ahead now, so we just want to remove them from the contract.
Why?
That was a discussion that was between the CAO, myself, and the Director of Community Services in February or March of this year.
Well, I got to say, like, I can't believe that this is coming forward, because this is something that's been on the go, and I was going to say for a few years, it's 2019 that we paid for that. Now, the Torbay Road one, I know that that's been an issue, and in talking to Jody and Barb and them, but the other signs for the skateboard, the splash pad, and one actually on the building for the common, and one going down to the common, the one going down to the common, that's still going ahead, is it?
That's correct.
But then all those other ones, because like that's $300 and something thousand, that if we don't spend it, that's going back to ACOA. And we've gone back numerous times to get extensions on that, and we assured them that that money would be spent. And the ultimate insult to a funding department like that is to send the money back. And now we're up to, because when I asked about this a little while ago, I was told that those signs would be up and installed in June. And I knew there was an issue with the one on the main road, but all the others. So this is total, I don't know about with you, but it's, so what's after happening in knowing that we're not able to spend that money?
We're looking at alternates on how to reallocate that funds. We're looking interior and also to, with a screen for outside. So the Torbay.
We only got until the end of July, isn't it?
Correct, yeah. We still have the extension. there's no, from that perspective, the one on Torbay Road was downsized. There are some issues with getting the permits there. Province hasn't issued a permit. The digital sign going down to the entrance is now double-sided. There was a change that said it was single-sided, so we changed it to a double-sided sign. So we can either move forward with the motion, or we can defer it and provide a breakdown of how all the funds will be allocated before
Yeah,
council.
I'm just wondering about the other ones
votes.
though, for the splash pad and for all those other ones, because I understood they were all in the process.
So we
being
put
done.
signage in place for when the building was open. It wasn't part of that. We needed signage for when the building was open. So there's town signs that we put in place.
Or we putting a big one on the common that was like talk lit up along on the front of the common and that too?
I haven't been part of a sign on the
Because
front.
that was,
But we could potentially look at that. So maybe the best thing is to do is defer it. We'll come back with a full breakdown and report.
That's what I'd like to ask for.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, as chair of the committee, again, this is something that we got to have a second look at, obviously. And so I'll, defer it. Yeah, withdraw it.
All in favor?
like,
Yeah.
I just think like if there's anything that you can make happen, make that happen right away.
That was our intent,
But,
but.
but those other signage and everything, like that's, I think that we're beyond going back and looking at reallocating that money.
Yeah, if I could, Mayor, what I'd like to ask is that we as council, the entirety of council, receive a package of information that shows the money that was allocated when that announcement was made, what's been spent and where, so we all know, because I know some of it went to acoustics, some of it was for signage, it was different things that it was meant for. So what I would like to know as a councillor is when, that was maybe 3 years ago at least that was
19.
announced. So what money was announced, where it was spent, and what's been expensed, what's remaining, what the plan looks like, where it could be expensed, what conversation is being had with ACOA about how to utilize that money. I absolutely agree with the deputy mayor that if we continue to, have a situation where a funder is giving us money and we're not spending the money, they're gonna look at us and go, our job is to spend the money. If you can't help us spend the money, we aren't gonna feel as confident about reinvesting in the community. And we've got a good relationship with the COA. We wanna make sure that stays. So what I would ask is if we have a full package of information around, if there are issues with signs, what they are, what ones we would have and wouldn't. And respectfully, I do have this to share the deputy mayor's concern about pulling signage that could be at the site on our parking lot for expectant mothers or any.
We have all that in place already though.
What I just heard was that some of that was looking here to be pulled. So I guess what I'm asking for is all of us as council to be informed on the same page with the same information. And when we have that package, then we can go back and have the discussion about what are the solutions that the staff is presenting, and can we move that forward and have asked that conversation has happened with the COA and is approved with the COA, so we don't lose the money. So I guess what I'm asking for is just the package of information so that we're all clear and we're all on the same page, because it seems to me in this discussion there's different recollections and different thoughts about where things are, and I didn't know until tonight that we were having trouble getting the permit there. When I saw this, I went, I'm not sure where we are. So, and that makes sense. Different committees doing different work, talking about different things. But I think one collective package from staff to explain to all of us, and then with solutions, would be beneficial.
That's the intent,
So
Councillor
who's that
Appleby.
going back to now, Don?
Pardon?
Who's that going back to? Like what committee, so I can?
Well, I'll
Where's it
work with
going?
I'll work with the Director of Corporate Services on it.
Okay, so back to corporate services? Okay.
One of the difficulties with that funding, it's $300,000 in approved funding, but to get all the funding, we need to spend $750,000. That's part of the difficulty in getting the funding. The signage is going through it, and the acoustics are going through it. There's been 4 claims submitted on that so far. That was for work done up to March 31st, and there will still be some more claims submitted.
So how much is remaining? What do you know?
there will still be almost $200,000 that we won't get to spend.
It's ridiculous. So we can look at solutions to reallocate and see what that looks like in a discussion with the COA. That's what I'm asking for as part of the solutions in the package.
But to come up with a solution, we don't have any budgeted money to spend. We would have to go outside of our budget to actually spend money to get money back from a COA.
Well, we know that, that's like no different than anything else that we've been putting in for, is like the roads, a third. So we knew when we had that 300,000 there, that we would have had to put money in order to spend that.
No, that money, if we spent 300,000, we got 300,000 back. So it wasn't.
Yeah, but we've known that since,
Yes,
like, we
yeah.
probably got that in 2017.
But my
Like,
understanding.
All right, okay, hang on. The motion was withdrawn, so we're not gonna continue to talk about it.
I know, but
We'll put together
Well-
full information and provide to town council for further discussion.
Thank you.
So we'll do that. We'll
Yeah.
figure out what that whole package looks like, and then it'll come back through.
yeah, I know, I'm just concerned, Craig, about
I
the
hear you.
time is the essence here now, so like,
We've been keeping the COA up to breast on where we're to with everything, so they're well aware of where the project stands. So there's no concern at this point about loss of funds or anything from that perspective.
no.
All right.
You done? I hope.
I have a question for him, actually.
Go ahead.
The workers' compensation item number 11, Councillor Tapper, have we ceased the contract with this service provider? Where are we on the risk profile for this service provider not having the proper workers' compensation in place?
The contract hasn't been ceased, but work has been stopped until we can confirm that workers' compensation will be put in place and that it's actually active.
Okay, my second question is, how did this service provider meet the criteria to work with us if that wasn't a prereq? I just want to make sure that if there's a gap, which can happen, that's life, but I want to make sure, like, for our procurement practices, if there is a gap and that we've acknowledged that this is here, when we do the evaluation criteria, if we could do a review or something to figure out, just to make sure we don't have that risk in the future, because I think that's important. And mistakes happen, we're human and that's life. I just want to make sure that we've got a plan in place, which is great to mitigate liability. The second piece is making sure the gap is fixed.
Our typical policy is that proof of workers' comp and liability insurance has to be provided to the town before the commencement of any contract work is done.
Yeah, because I would expect that to be part of the evaluation criteria when awarding something under the Procurement Act. So that's the reason why I just want to make sure, like, if there was something there when we're evaluating the criteria, we put out an RFP for these services, that, that's one of the things that's there. And if they check it and say, yeah, we have it, and then we ask for it, and they didn't provide it, like, there's a loophole somewhere, we just to make sure that the gaps are filled. That's all I was asking for. But thank you for that.
That speaks to a matter we discussed at committee of the whole, so it has HR implications, so we're working through. That's why, as the director said, the work has ceased till we receive some confirmation.
Perfect, thank you, I'm glad to hear that. The other thing, I just want to make a note, there was a reference here to the retirement home situation. I know that we had discussions the last term of council around some of these issues. Are these time-sensitive things that we need to address? Like, I'm just curious with the time sensitivity around that. I'm not sure. Is this something we have to do within the next month, next week, where are we on that?
Retirement homes would be fine as long as we get to it with the end of this fiscal year. It's not time sensitive at all.
Perfect, thank you. So that clarification I just wanted to ask for. And there's just one other note I wanted to make. In the package last go round, there was a note that I had expensed $1,000 of the travel allocation, and it was $750. And I'm just making a note for the record that I think it was a typo, And that's all, just to, I mean, it happens, again, listen, when I don't make a mistake, but I just think for the public record, the clarification was I had submitted 750, and I think it was a genuine typo error.
The other 250 was for the quarry appeal, for replacement of a day's pay?
That would have been from the previous year's budget, though.
Okay, because it went through in the current year.
Yeah, so it may have gone through in the current year, but it would have come from the previous year's budget. So maybe that's why the confusion was there, but I just wanted to clarify for the record of this year's budget, there was 750 claimed as of that meeting. Thank you.
Just to that point, Councillor Appleby, as of in the second quarter, professional development expenses for all council members will come forth to the public chamber and then be posted to the website along with the attendance records. So just to confirm, it's just not singling you out, it's the information for all council members will be posted.
Thank you. It's just the difference in the number, that's all. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, I apologize, but I have to leave for personal reasons, so in order for the meeting to continue, you'll need to appoint an acting town clerk for the remainder of the meeting.
Okay, can we get a motion to appoint Norm? Director of Corporate Services as town clerk, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. That's all right. That's okay, don't worry about it. All right. You finished, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Economic Development and Tourism.
Can I just jump in while we're waiting for Norm to come up? Are you coming up?
He's not coming up.
Oh, he's not coming up?
No.
Human Resources. I was supposed to add a name in there, and I forgot, because I guess I didn't read out the names, but I was given it when I came in here for the summer positions.
Okay.
And Emily Sampson's name should be added in there, so I just wanted to make that right by having that added to the list like you asked me, Ann. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, Economic Development and Tourism, Councillor Appleby.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, so I'm into the motion. Okay, I can do the motion first. All right, we have a motion here, and it reads, the Killick Coast Regional Agricultural Plan was submitted to the provincial and federal government and is now made public. The plan was funded by the Canadian Agricultural Partnership Program between the federal and provincial governments and intended to enable the agriculture industry within our province to grow, innovate, and prosper. Torbay participated in the development of this plan through the Project Steering Committee from the onset. The Minister of Agriculture will be meeting with members of the Chamber on June 9th to discuss and highlight the work involved in the plan's development and food productivity and sustainability for the region and the province. Members of the steering committee and mayors, reps from the Killick Coast communities have been invited to attend. The motion reads, for council to adopt the Killick Coast Strategic Agricultural Plan as a guiding document to support building, agriculture, and food sustainability on the Killick Coast. So moved.
Second. Seconded. Comments?
Just like to say that I had an opportunity to go down there that morning for the meeting. And the plans here is, the strategic plan is attached. And for anyone that takes time to have a look at this, and the fact that it's a living document, and where all the communities came together. I say I enjoyed it that morning with the Chamber of Commerce and Minister Bragg having their discussion and what have you around that. So it's good to see getting off the ground and getting a few opportunities now, I'm telling you.
And thank you for attending that.
Last minute, yeah. No, but it was good, I must say, I enjoyed it.
Excellent. Any other comment? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Awesome, thank you, everybody. Like the Deputy Mayor said, there is a copy of the document attached, so please have a look and review. Now, let me find my space here. All right, so the committee met on June 6th. Thank you, Councillor Goss, for participating and joining us with the meeting. Under economic development, we talked about the youth entrepreneurial program, and this is something that's happening at all of the 3 schools in our town, and it's amazing to see this moving forward and sparking interest in entrepreneurism. And Mayor, I'm a little jealous that you're going to get to be part of evaluating the business plans that are coming forward for.
Deputy Mayor's gonna do it on my behalf.
Oh, well, I'm gonna be jealous that she gets to do it, because this stuff is close to my heart, so enjoy, that's.
I have had the opportunity to go there twice and do it, and it's amazing, so.
It is.
I'm sure she's gonna enjoy
It's
it.
truly amazing to be a part of something like that, so can't wait to hear about how awesome that is when you do. We just had the motion for the Killy Coast Regional Agricultural Plan update, and like I said, it's attached. The Pico Ridge Memorial update, so there was a kickoff meeting held on June the 7th with members of Mills and Wright and the Economic Development Tourism Officer to discuss the timelines and next steps for the fabrication and installation of the memorial. And I just want to say that, you know, I think this is absolutely brilliant. This is something that that's really amazing. It's been talked about, I know, long before I came here, but it's just great to see this happening. So the consultants have indicated that September, you know, it could be a timeline, but looking at delays, we'll see how that goes. But to have that there at the History House where students can go over, people can reflect, you know, learn about our history and what's happened here. I just think it's an amazing project. I'm very glad to see it moving forward. Under business supports, there's some information there about starting a new business and having a look at that on our webpage. There's always conversations that Deanne is having to try to support businesses that are interested in startup or existing in the community. There's some information about rental spaces and leases that she's been working to try to share and let people know that that's available. And there's going to be a call to local businesses in the Northeast Avalon Times newspaper. So there's a piece there looking at the business passport program. And the idea there is to have a passport so that people could be going to some of the local businesses. And if you fill up your passport, you could win a prize trying to support some of our local businesses. So it's a cool idea, especially with our Torbay 50 celebrations. Under tourism, there's the information there for the National Tourism Week, the tourism ad destination marketing, the tourism map and the points of interest, and our Year of the Garden work that we've been doing. And Mayor, I'm very glad to know that you were out there Saturday to meet with our friends in Bay Roberts. I think that's fabulous.
Even got a t-shirt.
Right?
Yeah.
So now I got to go back and tell Mayor Yetman I got to get one of them too, I suppose, because I got a Radio Bay Roberts now needs one of them. Chair of the committee, Mayor, I have to fix that. And Councillor Madden, I have to ask one for you too, I suppose. The economic, and then of course Councillor Goss is the alternate, right? Well, if Councillor Yetman is watching this tonight, he's getting a tweet this evening.
Mayor Yetman.
Mayor, thank you, Mayor, my bad. All right, so there's some information there under the tourism supports, and there's nothing else there to add. So if anyone has any questions, I'm not going to read everything that's in here, but if anyone has questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, that ends my report.
Okay, any questions? Comments?
Okay.
Nope. All right, thank you very much. History, heritage, culture, and arts. Deputy Mayor.
Just gone off on another tangent that time. Okay, we had our meeting on the 6th, and I'm not going to go down over this word for word if anybody has got any questions. The thing is that Noah is pretty busy up there right now trying to get the History House Museum ready for the initial opening, grand opening on the 2nd. So I'm just wondering, Councillor Tapper, did you get the follow-up on, you were going to touch base with some residents with regards to the beautification of the property? Is that happening?
Still a go, yeah. I was talking to Ross Travers actually today, and he's
It's his birthday today.
Yes.
Yeah. 78
Yeah.
today. Happy birthday, Ross.
Yes, happy birthday,
But
Ross.
he's gonna drop over, look at the grounds and the trees, what can be saved, and,
Yeah, because the important thing is getting the flowers and what have you
Yeah.
put in there, because it's only a couple of weeks. And anybody got any questions or anything on there? I know that the other thing is that folk arts councils have been working with them to develop procedures for the operation of the second floor art gallery. And that Brenda Rowe, I know, has gone out looking, call for artists to present there. And we're still looking for more china cups and saucers if anybody has got anybody or anybody in the family that's got any that they might be looking at donating. And more to follow on the Torbay Land and Sea Festival.
Cool.
Can I ask one quick question?
Go ahead.
All of the grants here, it's great to see it laid out, thank you. Is it possible to have a timeline of when we will know for some of the ones that are in process? I'm just, like, I think, I don't know if, and sometimes we wouldn't know what it is, but it would be nice to know, like, if it's gonna be decided by the fall or whatever, because it
Yeah.
could help us for some planning
And he did
stuff.
make reference to that there was a couple that he wouldn't know until like September, so I'll just
Yeah.
ask for
And,
deadlines.
yeah, absolutely, and like, even if there was another column that just said
Yeah.
estimated approval date or timeline, so we would know when that might be.
Yeah.
But otherwise, that's something I
Because
would
he
ask
did
for.
mention that he was trying to get in touch with our MP, following up
yeah.
on one of the,
the map,
yeah,
bigger one.
ones that he had there, so.
All right. Anything else?
That's it.
Good. Thank you very much. Infrastructure, Public Works, Councillor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Mayor, before he starts, can I ask for that motion just for Robin, please, to have it on the agenda, please, on the record, please? I do have a note saying from CAO that I have asked in the past, but I just would like to have it for,
Yeah, I think when we voted on those, when we voted on awarding that project, that we did a vote then, because we're not doing anything here, right? That's just there for.
yeah, I just want guidance to make sure that there's nothing gonna come back where, I have asked the question in the past, and I know Ann just checked before the meeting to see if there was a record of it, it couldn't be found. Yeah, but I just wanna make
Yeah.
sure that the disclosure is made.
Right.
And if there is any requirement to redo or do an official motion on it. Like I said, I don't have any financial interest whatsoever in that myself, but it's my children's family.
Yeah.
And because of that, I just want to flag it and ask the question to make sure. I know I have asked it in the past. I have confirmation from CAO that I have.
Yeah.
I just want to.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if we had a motion there, that were a
Yeah.
motion to do those roads, that you would have to declare a conflict, but this is just information purposes.
So could we maybe do what we did with Councillor Goss's son, just make a note in the minutes that I had referenced it and asked council and you know, just something to show that I did my due
Yeah,
diligence.
that's fair.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Just on that, can you please notice that I'm in the same boat, probably more so, because I actually live on one of those streets. So there's no emotion there, but at least my thought process on this is not the creation of any extra economic value to anybody. It's actually repairs and maintenance to existing infrastructure that already exists. So if your properties or your personal values have already been affected, they've already been affected.
Right.
Right, by the construction or initial upgrade of a particular lane. This is routine repairs and maintenance. I don't see it as a conflict necessarily, but just let you know that I'm in the same boat as.
I agree with you on the part about the really no financial gain, but I think that if we were approving these roads to get done, that the appearance of a conflict, because you live on there, could be there, but because we're not approving anything, this has been all approved, then to that point, Ann could just make a note.
Okay, so I guess we start.
I never even looked to see if
a lot of these.
Balling Lime was on it.
A lot of this report is a repeat of,
Provincial road mayor.
okay, no one listen to me now, okay.
Carry on, sir.
Sorry, Councillor Fowler.
Just get along.
I'm just trying
I'll start again, let's see. We met on the 8th, I was via Zoom again, and as was Councillor Appleby. And Brian entertained us in the depot. A lot of the information here is repeat, and we had discussed whether or not we would leave it there, but we leave it there just for the sake of knowing that we do discuss it every time, and while there's no change, we do leave it so that it wasn't forgotten. So the flow meter project is as is. I'm not going to repeat everything here. I'm just going to pick up the ones of interest that reference to the multi-year capital works project. The RFPs are in the process of being completed, so there will be a motion coming back once that gets ready to go. There was discussion around trails some time ago, and we had agreed that we would hold off on the trails because of the consulting portion of it from the multi-year capital works money. We still haven't changed our mind on that, but we did have a couple of conversations around the Pine Ridge connection and Eagle's Nest in terms of trail development. And I know the director is certainly looking into those, and there's notes there in relation to the Pine Ridge area in particular and how it may connect up or not connect up. So we haven't lost sight of that. I just want to bring it to the residents' attention that they can actually read there and see that we hadn't forgotten about it, and we are looking at ways to tie that in. While it mightn't be this year, we certainly have it on the planning horizon for down the road. Water treatment, bulk garbage things are there. Speed calming, we will have the Forest River Drive added to that list as well to discuss at the next meeting, because the gentleman was here twice now, and I know I haven't looked at the road myself to see what's there, but certainly we can talk about that in terms of what the speed bump or speed calming measures might be available in those places.
On that road, there is a couple of speed bumps up at the top. There's a raised crosswalk that goes across where the trail comes out. But then going down towards the bottom where the cul-de-sac is, I don't know if there's any additional ones there. So that might be the area he's talking about as it slopes down.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the speed bumps that are there. It's not that I hadn't looked, just that I hadn't gone back since to go back down and really understand where that gentleman's talking about, because he did mention on 2 occasions now about the dirt bikes and the quads and that too, that do pose a problem. There's a letter there from CCON in relation to, I think, land adjacent to the depot, a larger parcel of land that we may want to look at for future consideration. The biggest one for the night, I guess, is the discussion around the Muffin Monster, and I know I had discussion with the director and the CAO in terms of the Muffin Monster's down. It's got to be done. It's got to be repaired. It's not a matter of if we can do it or we can't do it. It's got to be done, and the money has to be found from somewhere because it's not certainly a budgeted item. We hadn't had the cost at this point now. I think when it was originally discussed, it was at some $30,000, and I have a question on the cost to myself. And Brian, you can clarify as we go through. The reference to the $51,000 says plus HST and the exchange rate. I'm assuming the exchange rate is not in court. This is in US dollars?
Yes.
So it's 51 US plus HST, so you're going to add another 30% onto that. It's going to be closer to $70,000 plus HST.
Actually, there's no taxes extra. It's 51,179.30 Canadian, actually. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's the order of magnitude to repair the Muffin Monster, and there was discussions also with the Director of Corporate Services, and I think Norm can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't mean to put you on the spot. We were going to allocate money from some other projects that we weren't going to proceed with, or loan money.
Yes, the ISIP project for this year is being delayed. The federal government has shortened the program by 3 years, so they're not going to award any ISIP projects until the fall, and we could submit more projects up till last Friday. So in our budget of this year, I had budgeted $51,716 for loan payments for the North Pond Water Treatment Facility. And so that money will not be used now because the project won't even be started by the end of the year. So when Brian asked for money, I identified that money that could be transferred over to cover the cost of the Muffin Monster.
Thank you, Norm, appreciate that. So I guess that's where the whole discussions sort of came, because it was sitting there not going anywhere. It's something we gotta get done. There's still, a lead time. I think it was 7 or 8 weeks or whatever it was before we even get that in, so we definitely have to move ahead anyway and find the money. So motion to proceed with this emergency purchase of Muffin Master unit in the amount of $51,179.30 plus HST. While this is an unbudgeted item, as discussed, it is recommended that the funds be allocated from fiscal services and funds allocated for infrastructure loans yet to be termed out. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Question?
Just one question on it as well, with the pricing. Brian, does that include freight?
Yes, freight and customs brokerage as well.
Okay, thank you.
It's come from California.
So,
Long ways.
I guess for anybody, I know it's all
Explain what
about,
Muffin
I know it's all about, I can explain. I know it's all about the Muffin Monster. Last time I saw it was during the garage, and Paddy Hacko had it all in a million pieces, but, it is in our, at the start of our, outfall point. It's a machine that has gears on it, that all sewer passes through it, and it gets mangled up, grind up, so that it doesn't go out in large pieces, solids and stuff. So this is why our staff now, if that's broken, have to go down on the beach and pick up. I mean, we don't want them at that. We certainly don't want them at that, and we do want to be able to break that material down. So that's what this is. People don't necessarily know what the Muffin Monster is. That's what it is.
That's correct.
That right? Am I right on that?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
And Mayor, I think to the point that we had the discussion in committee, like this is a very specific piece for that system. It's not like we can go somewhere else and price it around or anything else. Like this has to be purchased from this one service provider, and it's definitely something that we need. And this is, a come home year for us. We're hoping to have lots of tourism and celebration, and, it's one of those emergency things that when it breaks down needs to be fixed. So I fully support this motion, absolutely.
Okay.
If we can, and I'm assuming everyone's gonna say yes anyway at the end of it, but if we can explore, we did talk about the use of gas tax money, but we are not really sure how much dollars is associated with that. But if I can make a suggestion, is that if we can get some estimate of what the other project costs, maybe, because I guess we're looking at for instance, the multi-year capital works project, they're being financed. It would be easier for us to finance an extra $51,000 in one of those projects than to pay $51,000 out. If we got gas tax that can be used rather than not finance $51,000 elsewhere. Right. So all I'm saying is let's just look at those funding sources we have left and best utilize what we have and move this forward anyway.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. That it?
Other than that is all the information is there for reading, and so is my report, Your Worship.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I just got a question there with regards to the RFP for the multi-year capital works. I know, do we have a deadline on, we're saying mid-July, I think, if I can remember. But is that for certain that that's going to be going out then?
Sorry, which one was that again?
The multi-year capital works.
For the road work?
Yes.
I guess the RFPs.
So.
Yeah, so the roadwork tender the roadwork tender is in the process of getting approved to go out there now. And so we're hoping to have that back for the next council meeting, so we get that construction started.
Okay, because.
Stormwater one is gonna take a little longer because they're doing that takes extra work, obviously.
Yeah, because if it means something getting awarded, to get it moving, the mayor said we can have a meeting to get that done rather than wait an extra week or two if it's ready to go.
Yeah.
The other question that I got here, I know the bulk garbage cleanup and what have you that took place, but is there a plan? And I don't know, maybe Norm, if Jen was here, we could ask her. is there any money left in that come home year funding? I think it was $2,500 that we got, because I know there's different places, and I'm just thinking precisely about the end of Balling line. I know it was there yesterday, I don't know if it's there today, but there's garbage around different places in the town. Like, are we going to have, or do we have a plan in mind to get a few students or give somebody a few dollars to go around and pick up the garbage that's around in the ditches? And I'm looking at you for that, because I don't know who to be talking to.
I will follow up with Jen, because I'm usually talking to Jen every single day.
Yeah, because there may be some money in that particular budget, because...
That's actually a public works project. It's actually a public works project.
Yeah, but it got complicated there when we were doing the cleanup, because Jen had money that she got a grant that it was like $2,500. Well, that's how come we were dealing with Jen trying to organize it, I was told.
No, actually, Infrastructure and Public Works organised the cleanup in conjunction with Community Services and Economic Development. Economic Development actually applied for the grant, which was $5,000, but there's specific things that you can spend that on.
Yeah.
Right? So we may be able to use that for what you're talking about, but like I said, they're very specific on what you can use it for.
Yeah, I know, but anyway,
Yeah.
regardless.
That was the mayor's area, and he sort of dropped the ball this year.
We gotta try to do something to get the garbage cleaned up that's around, because we only had like 5 groups that participated. But again, there's garbage around any number of places, and it's just kinda, well, it's not my job. Well, you know, give somebody a few dollars and
I noticed that
few youngsters.
the councillors were out doing a lot of picking up.
But you're right, though. Usually
This is the mayor's spot.
between my house and the end of the Torbay sign on Balling Line, my daughter and I usually clean that all up every year.
Yeah. I mean, it's an ongoing thing, and we did get money, but anyway, I just don't know what's happening there.
We're actually doing a debrief on cleanup on Thursday, I believe it is. So during that, I'll bring that up, see if we can use that funding for other
Yeah.
ways. Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks. Got it?
That's it for me.
Okay. Recreation Community Services. Councillor Goss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Holy crap, it's 12 after 9.
I know.
Sorry.
The minutes from June 9th for the program event updates. Registration now open for the summer programs and events. Residents can register online. The community guide, 2022 community guide is now available for viewing. It can be downloaded. Also, hard copies can be picked up here at the Town Hall or the Torbay Common. Again, as we were speaking, the community cleanup was held on June 4th. I'd like to thank the Public Works and the organization with the Lions Club with the barbecue. The department is also having a free event on Friday, June 17th at 1:30 to celebrate Seniors Month. The event is at Torbay Common. Staff would also like to remind residents that the Family Fun Day is coming up on June 19th, 9 a.m. at the Torbay Common to celebrate June's Recreation Month. The town of Torbay is registered for the Community Better Challenge for participation. Residents are encouraged to download the app and get involved. The Chief McGraw Awards were held in Flat Rock, will be held on Flat Rock on June 16th at 7 p.m. Invites for the ceremony have been sent out, and staff are looking forward to it with the partnership with the town of Flat Rock. Canada Day events are now posted and can be found on the Torbay website. Residents, again, are reminded, as we talked about before in the proclamation, that June is National Indigenous Peoples History Month. As far as the facility, the new office is set up for the staff now for their own individual workstations. We also, Public Works and Infrastructure, are working together for the Northeast Avalon soccer programming growth this summer. We're also, the Community Garden Committee, as we had a presentation tonight, that the fence is being looked at, and we'll have something to report back on that. Also putting out from the Recreation Department, calling for registration for garden bed at the new community garden at Torbay. Residents can email smartin@torbay.ca for more information. And the Recreation Department is hosting a group of employees from Newfoundland Power on June 10th as part of the EnviroFest funding. One last thing I'll mention, we had a group The U15 girls, Newfoundland Selects, they won at the Provincial All-Star Tournament this past weekend. I was going to mention congratulations, but I can kind of do it now as well. They actually used the Torbay Common quite a bit for their training over the past year, so not that we didn't have any Torbay residents as such. There were some girls that are training with them and some coaches, but we had a hand in helping them get to that point and by using the Torbay Common. So I think it's a win-win, and congratulations to that team. Actually, it's the first time since 1984 that a female provincial all-star team has won at a competition.
Cool. Good for them.
And that's it for me.
All right.
I just wanted to jump in there and to add about the Torbay 50th celebrations. We were going to send out, put it in here in the guide, and we need to get more information to go out. So we're waiting for Barry to come back, so there's another record done up. But I'm asking staff and all of council to go in and share the information, because there's a few glitches in here with the dates Dawn said earlier that she's going to send out a communication to everyone, but there's a seniors party social on the go on Friday, but it says Thursday, I think, but I believe it's Friday. But everyone to go in to share, because what's happened, we have this guide, we have this one, and then there's another one that it's not nowhere in print, it's only pop-up. And there's some residents, they're finding it, and they can't find where they went in and found it on social media. So with Jen being off, it's kind of a little bit of a hassle right now to try to bring it all together. So I'm just assuming that maybe one of you directors that's here that can share this with Scott and Kurt tomorrow and try to get what they've got online, what Kurt is doing and Scott done, coordinated, and then bring it all together for the 50th anniversary. Because we're really running out of time now. I mean, it's only a matter of a couple of weeks, and even with the opening and that off the History House. So just put it out there, share whatever you can see in there to share from the town would be much appreciated, and especially if you know some seniors that normally go to these functions, to let them know about it.
Okay. Thank you.
Just one point. One of the things I was going to mention in my go-around was around the Community Better Challenge. And of course, I was out this morning running around on our Wicked Trails and saw this on Twitter and went, ooh. So I went in and I looked it up, and we are number 75 in the province. So I think we need to encourage all members of council and everyone that we can to sign up, because I'm pretty competitive, and there's 276 communities and we're 75, so we can absolutely do better. So I want to see as many people as they can sign up here so we can take that 75 and change it.
I saw that Bishop Falls Mayor Manuel had, or Mayor King had shared that yesterday, and he was bragging how they were number 10 or in the top 10. And it was the first I ever heard of it, so I forwarded it on the staff. So now we got to get on it.
Yeah, we need this on our social media
That's an app, is it?
It's the Participation app. You download it on your
And you
phone.
can win money. So everybody in town, please download it and click on it.
Exactly.
The community can win some dollars.
Everybody who goes for, if you walk your dog, or if you are out with your friend, or whatever you're doing, if you are active and you've got, your phone with you or your watch, that tracks it. I went for a run this morning, took the dog in, we had to go, and I came back and I got a big award on my Participation app saying, you had a workout. All of those things for all of us collectively, it goes in there. So for anyone training for the Tele 10 or any of that stuff, I want to give the rest of the towns a run for the money, right?
If me and Tony had had that yesterday, we were golfing. We mostly drove in the car.
I was going to say you had a cart driving it.
Yeah. I think we need to encourage people to download that app and make sure that we
agree.
let people see how active and cool we are in Torbay. Thanks.
Yeah. So look for it on the town's Facebook and Twitter account, Sarah.
Yeah, if it hasn't been shared, I think we need to make sure that it's shared.
I shared it today.
Oh, did you? Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, liaison committees, Atlantic Mayor's Congress, nothing to update. Intergovernmental Affairs, I updated earlier from the mayor's meeting. Jackburn Regional, Councillor Goss.
We're still waiting to get together. We haven't scheduled
Okay.
another meeting yet.
All right. Northeast Avalon Joint Council, Deputy Mayor.
We had our meeting last week, so we're finished now until the 14th of September.
Okay, all the minutes are attached. You know
Everything
what?
is in
That's-
there.
That's the first time that you never told me that we got a meeting next week.
Oh, there you go.
RNC, I don't have anything to update. Torbay Volunteer Fire Department, Councillor Manning.
Yeah, the minutes are there for their May 23rd meeting. Emergency response, they had 9 calls in that 2-week period. They're ongoing without their fire prevention activities. I'm just going briefly through this now. Training, as always, is a continuous. They have the regatta committee, where we're had a meeting at the end of May. So I'm super excited to see that up and running again. We always ever went to the regatta to go to the
Must-do booth.
to the Torbay Fire Department, walk a couple of feet and then go back. So hopefully everyone else will do the same. Other than that, it's all there. I don't know if anyone has any questions. I know they did have the fireman's ball, but I was unable to attend it at the time. Very sad that I missed it, because I was certainly looking forward to it. But I did hear it was a great event, and I guess I'll see more now later on. But that's the minutes. Any questions?
Oh, no, good.
Thank you very much for
Thank
no
you.
questions.
Thanks.
I've saved them up for some
All
other
right. No notice of motion, new business, Councillor Tepper.
No, I passed.
Oh, did you? Okay, right, so you did. Councillor Manning.
My thank you is to and for everyone who reached out to me and my family on Dad's passing. You really don't realize, like even just a quick text or whatever, but every person who reached out, it meant an awful lot to each and every one of us. And it just made it easier. So to each and everyone who reached out one way or another, from my family, thank you very much. That's it.
Well said. All right, Councillor Pollard, pass. Councillor Epby.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to take a minute to acknowledge what guts that took and strength. And well done, Councillor Manning, well done. I wanted to say thank you to the coaches and the parents and the families who were supporting kids at Juniper Ridge who are playing baseball, and my son played in the championship game tonight. I got a call, you're not going to be at my game, Mom. No, I have this thing called council happening. So when you want to talk about putting your duties at council first, my children were told this evening, as important as you are and I love you, I need to be here. So that's just part of what we do. I also want to say thank you to the teachers at Holy Trinity High who took my daughter and members of her class who did the Duke of Edinburgh walk. They went from Freshwater Bay out to Cape Spear and back. Quite a hike, and part of that program. So thank you to them. It's really important. People give their time in the community in so many different ways, and you know, it's important to recognize those. The last thank you I want to issue is to this council. You know, the ability to participate at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities conference last weekend was incredible again. And I have to say, you know, sometimes people don't really understand what our roles are around those tables, but it's so important for us as a smaller community to have the ability to go and talk to people from all across this country about what do we have in common, what challenges are we facing, and we as a collective come together then, and we have our collective voice heard. And when, you know, the ministers were there and they were in the room, they had to answer 4 questions, and it wasn't just one town or even one province. It was all of us together saying, these are our issues, can you help us with them? So that was brilliant, and I thought, if our Prime Minister could attend virtually, so could I, right? So it was really great, and it was a great honor to be acclaimed back to the board. And I will have a report for us. There will be a wrap-up of the events and the information that FCM usually provides, so I'll make sure that that's in the package. But it's really, really a privilege to sit at that table and represent our community. And I want to say thank you, because it's great to be back. It's great to be part of that conversation. And I look forward to the good work that we'll do in the next year. So congratulations to everybody who was re-elected or acclaimed back at the table. And I just want to thank Council for the opportunity to represent our town and our province there again. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Goss.
No, I kind of covered it with
perfect.
myself, but thank you very much.
All right. Deputy Mayor.
I'd just like to say thank you to Derek Stockenser for planning and coordinating the joint
It's on my list.
yard sale. I'll beat you to it for once. For partnering with the town staff. I know that the recreation, community service and recreation assist them as well. And first weekend, I know the weather didn't cooperate, but the following weekend, I know Patrick's Pad had a lot of cars lined off there. There was a couple of yard sales. I also like to thank the residents who participated in the community cleanup. While it wasn't what we had hoped for, it did help with the groups, and I always encourage people to get out and clean up in front of their own property. Thanks to the Lions Club and to, I know Brian was there, I'm not sure what other staff, him and his daughter were there to pick up the supplies at the end of the barbecue. And it was good to see some people dropping by there. And I also would like to thank the mayor for the opportunity to join him for that appreciation night with the cast, and especially with Rex, Hudson and Rex show. And the dog did it for me, so yeah, it was really good.
You had a smile on your face for the minute we walked in.
Well, that's it, yeah. Not often you see that, but I couldn't get it off even when I'm looking at the pictures. Like, I really enjoyed that night, and it was great to see so many people there from the adjoining towns as well as the cast. They were all so pleasant and, so hyped up about it, so
Yeah.
it was really good.
Thank you. Well, you touched on a few things I was going to talk about.
Oh, that's good.
Saturday morning, instead of, normally I would do my garbage pickup piece, there was a few things on going to town I wanted to try and go around and make sure I tried to visit them all. So I started off at the Torbay Common. I went and talked to all the people that were there for that dog show. They were so impressed by our facility, and I want to thank staff and that organized that, had those people there. I walked around, talked to them all about their grooming their dogs, and went out around. I must have been there for an hour and a half. And all I could think of was, how wonderful is this that you are proving that this facility can be used for more than just sports. And this is a huge industry in our province. That was the Avalon dog kennels. There's also Newfoundland dog kennels, and they were telling me that it's harder to get locations now inside. So I looked around and I said, well, what's the absolute worst thing that can happen? I mean, the dog will make a mess on the floor, you clean it up and move on, right? So it was really, I really enjoyed going there and talking to the people and finding out who they were. So they were, of course, I don't tell them who I was just saying there, how do you like the building? So then I was talking to a guy outside, and he says, oh yeah, I was talking to somebody there that said you owns the building. I said, nobody, I don't own the building. I was just asking questions. I said, I'm mayor. And by the way, there's dog bags down in that little machine there for when your dog messed on the grass. But anyway, they were so nice, and I think that there's an opportunity for us that we need to keep pursuing that and other ones like it. I did actually go around and visit some of the people that were doing the the community
FEMA.
yard sales. I stopped talking to Derek Stoppitzer, and he said hopefully next year somebody else or the town maybe or committee or whatever can take over the running of the thing. I said, you did a great job getting it off the ground, and I want to thank him for that. Congratulations to Councillor Epry for getting back on the FCN board.
Thank you.
Thank you to the Lions Club for out here in front of the town hall to do the barbecue that day for the community cleanup. I was there talking to them for a while. They got a hamburger off me anyway for me lunch. What else do I have here? Oh, the only other one thing I got is that I want to pass along our condolences to the firefighter who got killed on the way to a call in the Trinity area last week. And, you know, I was at our fireman's ball last week, and I saw a comment actually on Facebook yesterday commending our fire department for their service in going to someone's house. And, you know, they're out there, they're volunteers, and not only are they there to try and protect our lives and the lives of the people living in our community of Torbay and Flat Rock, but we also have to remember that when they go at that, they're putting their own lives in danger to try and protect us. So I just wanted to pass that along to the family and friends of that firefighter that passed away. And with that, I am done. I have a question that came in for the second Q&A from, where is it? Here it is. From Ross Thornhill. And let me see, I gotta turn it sideways because to read it. So his question is, during the 30th of May 2022 meeting, a statement was made by a councillor. Have an open and honest discussion where we are and where we are going. So if people are in good standing, including the mayor, if you're not in good standing, in my book, you're not going to the Atlantic Congress, right? And anybody else who wants to go to M&L or whatever, but you know, we got to determine that amongst ourselves and have a serious conversation. He's just wondering if someone could elaborate on what was meant by councillors being in good standing and with whom they should be in good standing. I think I know, it kind of caught me a little bit off guard, but I will tell you what I believe, and then Councillor Tapper can confirm for me. So the only thing that would put a councillor in good standing or not in good standing was that we're required to attend a public council meeting. We can't miss 3 in a row, and a council has to meet at least once a month. So you'd have to miss all your council meetings for 3 months before you would not be in good standing as a councillor. The other part of it would be that if I want to go somewhere, or anybody, member of council wants to go on a professional development opportunity, that we have money left in our budget and it meets our criteria. Other than that, I don't know what else it could mean. Is that, or what? I don't know. Right.
You know, and that, to me, that should be written in a policy somewhere.
Okay.
That's my point.
Right.
Right there. You know,
Yeah.
because there may come a time when somebody may not be in good standing, but missing meetings or whatever. I'm
Right.
not saying or implying that anybody in this chamber,
Right.
or anybody that I've worked with over the years, you know, it's never written, but it may very well.
Yeah, and that was kind of where I thought you were, and that's why I didn't ask you.
We're all here to work.
Yeah.
Sure will.
All right, perfect. I hope, Ross, that answers your question. Our next public council meeting will take place on July 18, 2022, 6:30. Before we go, I'm sorry, happy birthday to Scotty Martin, Julia Schwartz, Leon Harris, and Jason Slade. That's our birthdays for June, and I forgot to mention it earlier. Happy birthday, everybody. I hope you enjoy your birthday when it comes along. And now I will call for a motion to adjourn, please.
Seconded.
Mover and seconder, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Ann.